Hi, and welcome back to the Prickly Pear Show. I'm Ron Furman. Today we have a special guest, Limor Twena. So nice to have you today.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here.
Mira is going to be coming shortly.
Yes.
Hopefully we don't make it a habit, but she's on her way. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and do you have any idea why you're here today?
I have an idea. I guess the prickly pear talks about things that are prickly, difficult to talk about, that aren't maybe so popular to talk about, and giving that some airspace, and maybe the kind of year that I've had is interesting to some of your viewers.
So you have something called aggressive positivity.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And I know there's a background story to it. I don't know if you really want to go in depth, but why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the last year that you've been facing, and we'll start from there.
Okay, so in December last year, I was diagnosed with an aggressive breast cancer that had spread, and I needed the most aggressive type of treatment, which included chemo, then surgery, then radiation, and I was literally saved by a hair. So I'm very, very lucky to be here, and I feel very fortunate. And during that year, I had a unique way of getting through my challenges, and a lot of people want to learn how I did that. And I'm really happy to share, and I'm working on a book called Aggressive Positivity.
So I know you from before you had cancer, and you were an amazing singer, still are. And I remember I wanted to reach out to you, and I just saw all these posts online that it seems like something was wrong. But in every picture that you posted, you were smiling, you looked happy, you looked like you weren't phased. Now, we all know someone that has gone through depression, or still there, and anxiety, that there's a lot of things that we put out to the world that's not really what we feel inside. However, changing that attitude and doing things that are positive, still moving forward, is actually helping us get better every day.
What I put out there was real. If you even talk to my best friends, they'll tell you she didn't break down. I mean, I had my sad moments. So the day before my first chemo, a lot of anxiety around that. The day before surgery, a lot of anxiety around that. However, I did things before that helped me not think about it. So for example, the day before surgery, I booked a studio session for 4 hours in the morning. So for those 4 hours, I was on a cloud, I was on a high, I was so happy. I was thinking about my words, my lyrics, the tone of my voice. I wasn't thinking about what was happening the next day. And my husband called me right after we got out of the studio, and he said it right. He said, "How was your therapy session?"
Nice.
I said, "It was amazing."
But having the type of attitude that you have is not something that we all have. Meaning, there's a lot of people out there where they see chemo or cancer or anything bad. It's a downward spiral, and they seem to lose interest in life, and they give up, and they say, you know what, I've had a great life up until now, whatever happens, happens. And yet, by you doing your therapy session, doing something that you love, you were living till the last moment, as they say, prior to the surgery. There's a lot of people out there, I'm sure, that are going through something, or
everybody's going through something,
or they know somebody that's going through something. So that means they're going through something.
And it's not necessarily health, physical health, mental health. People are dealing with addictions. People are dealing with gambling problems, with financial problems. God forbid a child has health problems at school. I mean, I don't know anyone that is just going through life easy peasy. There's always something.
Right.
And, I don't judge anyone's reaction to anything, because everybody has been raised in a particular way by particular parents, has particular genes, predispositions for various ways of even looking at things. I mean, I believe that temperament you're born with that.
Right.
Now you can have parents that nurture and bring out a more positive you, or they can bring out a more negative side of you, but that baseline of how you were born, that's something that you can't really change.
But how do you have the strength to really overcome? I'm sure there is, I don't know, not a magic trick, but I'm sure there is something within you that allowed you to overcome this fear, or at least, because I know you're real. I know that you're honest. I know when you're smiling, you're really smiling. I know that when you're, we've known each other for a while, and having conversation with you, but there's something special about you, and that's why I think you're a perfect person to lead this aggressive positivity in inspiring people to live life to the fullest. I know we don't want to really talk about the family, but you have kids, you have a husband, you have a life, so you have clearly responsibilities. So sometimes you have to, put on that face. Full-time mom has to put on the face for the kids that everything's all right. But how did you actually get yourself
to that place?
To that place, maybe there's an audience out there that wants to know how to be able to be that person.
So I think the first step is to really face whatever that is that's in front of you. So it's not about putting on a face right away and, oh, I have cancer, I'm going to be happy. No. Holy crap. I have cancer. I need to cry. I need to scream. I need to pray. I need to be in shock. You need to go through the process of accepting and facing what it is and giving that space. And for some people, that process can be a week. For some people, that process can be a month, even a year. It takes time to be able to flip that thought from something negative to a positive, and the beginning point is just realizing and digesting what happened. So for me, when I got diagnosed, it took me 3 days of pretty much crying nonstop.
Okay.
The family crying, me crying, everybody came together to cry with me and try and make me laugh. Or not even laugh, first to support me. And then everyone was asking me, what do you want? What do you need from us? What can we do? And I realized that if I sit and cry for a week, a month, not only am I going to do damage to myself, but to my family and my kids. I don't want them to see me so upset all the time. And what can I do to change that? And so I kind of realized going through that process that being down and holding my head down is not going to help my recovery. It's not going to help the medicines work, because it's really, chemo works better when you have a positive state of mind. It's a known thing. So the hospital now recommends people
come on in.
look at...
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
So sorry to interrupt the conversation.
That's okay.
So nice to meet you.
The conversation we're on now is just, so just to bring you in,
I'm looking forward to this.
Limor has battled through cancer,
yes,
and won. And we're talking today just about how do you keep positive when you're going through something so dramatic, something that not just affects you but everybody around you, and everybody always comes and pities, but at the same time, if you just pity yourself the whole time, you can't get up and move forward. And a lot of what Limor is doing is going through that moment in time where you are crying with your family, you have to dedicate to thinking about everything, in your life, I'm sure which you did. And then at one point rising and saying, look, this is not helping me. This is not helping the situation.
Right.
Now, the thing about Mira lost her father to cancer.
I'm sorry.
About a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
Now.
So,
seems like yesterday.
Right, yeah.
Time does fly.
The impact.
The impact is the same.
Oh yeah.
They say time heals. To me, it doesn't. It just you deal with it. You cope. You learn how to cope. I don't think time heals per se.
I agree. Today actually is 5 years since when I met my ex-wife. So every time like a date in the calendar comes about, you start to think and you go, wow. And I'm still sore. I'm still hurting. Like I'm still there. So yeah, I mean, I've gone through a lot of things myself, but I haven't been able to, how do I say this, walk in a cloud like the way it seems that you are. I keep seeing you and I'm like, wow, like if this person, she's going through something more serious than I am, and she can smile in the morning and every time I see her and she's talking about positive things, why can't I do that? So in some ways, and I think I told you this before making the film, you were somewhat of an inspiration. You helped me push this film forward and say, I have to make this thing happen. I have to make this thing happen. This morning we had a funny situation, which we're going to talk about today.
With respect to the film?
With respect to the film, which
We'll
talk about it today. Clearly that all three of us were a part of the movie. Yes.
I want to say about the subject that we're talking about, cancer and dealing and overcoming adversity. It gives you enormous perspective and an appreciation, a new appreciation that you normally don't have when things are going well, when you're healthy and you're in good health.
Right.
I personally haven't gone through this, but I feel like I might as well have. That's how I processed it in my heart. I still choke up talking about it, as you could tell. But I can say that every morning when I wake up, I'm grateful to have 2 feet, a set of lungs, eyes, hands, like things that we take for granted. I'm just so grateful. I did a hike the other day in Peru when I was doing the trip. I was so grateful just to be able to do the hike. Constantly remembering how my father struggled, losing his ability to be mobile, losing his dignity slowly.
What type of cancer did
Sarcoma. One of the most lethal, scariest cancers. That's the one that
anything.
So remember our mayor, Tom Ford.
It's in the stomach. Yeah, Rob Ford.
Yeah, Rob Ford. But it can be anywhere. It's a liposarcoma, so it's kind of like an adipose tissue type of cancer.
The connective tissue.
Correct.
They
and
can't
it metastasizes aggressively, and it doesn't respond to chemotherapy very well.
Yeah.
And the chemotherapy, all it does, it just
makes you sick.
Makes you more sick. It shuts down your immune system, your ability to fight it off, and it just brings on the inevitable, I would say. So, very, very tough,
heavy
subject.
stuff.
Heavy stuff. And you know what I found, what I can share personally, while we were going through that, and to this day, there's a lot of people that turn to me for advice on how to deal when somebody in their family or close one gets diagnosed, where to go, where to turn, because I've spent 2 years doing research on how to eat, how to be, how to breathe, how to think when you're dealing with something like that. Because not only do you need help as the person with the diagnosis, but the family, the immediate family that supports you through this, that takes care of you, they too need the help. And oftentimes that is neglected.
People forget.
Because they're focusing on the person, and of course the person is the amount of suffering that you are going through, the person who is actually dealing with it, unimaginable. But also the people left behind after all is done, the suffering goes on. So that's something that needs to be addressed. And I find that Canadian system, at least the way the healthcare system is presented and set up right now, is not equipped to deal very well with people who are the family, the caregivers. That's what I found from my experience. There was no support at all during the process.
Really?
At all. Maybe you had a different experience.
I had a very different experience. I don't know. I was at Sunnybrook and I found it tremendously incredible. We had a team of counselors, psychologists waiting on hand that specialize in specifically that, is supporting myself as well as family members if anybody needed to talk to someone, which I thought was very amazing. And I had
night and day. We were in Princess Margaret, which specializes in sarcoma, and if I can just share, we were bounced back from one specialist to another saying, oh, we're closed today, it's the holidays, or he's on vacation and you're just going to get your what's the procedure when they actually take
biopsy?
A biopsy. Yeah, they're going to wait on the biopsy 3-4 weeks, and you know with cancer, every day, every hour counts. And so you're just
not very... situation, and this is why I'm kind of like drifting off.
I can see that in your face.
Yeah, my face. Okay? Exactly. So what ended up happening was, for some reason, it went on private, and I tried to change it to public, and I'm looking at it public, but I'm not quite sure if it is, because I'm not seeing people live. So
so this whole time we might have been public, private?
We might have been private, yeah. So I want to make sure, but the thing is, I'm seeing that we are live, and I'm just wondering whether we are still on private or public, because I don't see people tuning in. So
what we can do is, why don't you log out and start it over?
What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So give me 1 second. Sorry, I just want to wipe my face really quickly. I started, my face cannot lie.
Yeah, you can definitely. I can see that so quickly you're heating up.
Wow.
Our situation was painful, just so painful. And at first they told them, we'll take a biopsy, we'll operate on you, you'll be fine. Next thing you know, oh, sorry. After they did like 18 attempts to do the biopsy, he comes back home and they're like, oh, well, now it's metastasized to the lungs.
Oh, I think now I see. Oh, there you go. Somebody's tuning in. Okay, fantastic. Great, so we are live. So there you go. We don't have to start over. Sorry guys, we had some technical difficulties. We somehow had it on private. Now we're back to being public. Somehow I pressed the button to make sure that we don't have the screw up of the logos that we have on top. So I went on private, and then when I went live,
so this recording, if someone wants to watch it from the beginning, they'll catch the beginning of the conversation.
I believe they will. Yeah, I believe they will.
Once it's gone, when it's finished doing live, then they can rewind and go to the beginning.
Yeah. So just a quick update for those that are tuning in right now. We have Limor Twena on the show today, Mira, our usual co-host, and what we're talking about today is aggressive positivity, which is something that you came up with, and after battling cancer and just looking at the world in a more positive way and forcing yourself to be happy, forcing yourself to go. Maybe that's not the exact word.
I don't want to use the word force. You're not forcing. It's actioning.
Actioning, okay.
You're taking action. So force
That's
gives
always
you
better than being passive.
Yeah. Forcing someone to do something never feels right, and the outcome is almost never what you want. You actually go the opposite of what. It's like your dad saying to you, "I want you to be a doctor. You have to be a doctor." I'm forcing you to be a doctor. You might go to med school, but you'll quit midway because your heart isn't in it.
Right.
So what's important is to action.
Yeah.
It's you're actioning a positive present and future fearlessly.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at any challenge and you're saying, okay, cancer, so what? That's just a word. It's a situation in front of you. You can flip it, you can make it positive, and it's not impossible. You just have to believe that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And having that faith that you can flip something and the confidence that you can turn something into something good is part of the process. But as I had mentioned before you came in, I was walking Ron through how I came up with the concept of aggressive positivity, what it means, and what happened to me when I got diagnosed. And I was telling him that first you have to look at the challenge and accept it and face it. Running away from it doesn't help.
Okay. What does running away look like?
Running away, say, I don't want to think about it, I don't want to talk about it.
I'm just going to move on with my daily routine as if nothing happened. That's running away? Okay.
It's not necessarily running away. That could be your coping strategy, but if you want to be aggressively positive, you have to
That's the first stage of grief, actually, denial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you do have to
go
through all the stages. So first you're going to be in denial. Yeah, I was in denial for,
That's normal.
What? Oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Yeah. Why me, not me? Then it becomes why me, then it becomes angry. Why me? So if you go through the normal process of grieving, and it could be with any challenge, with what happened to you this morning. It's you go through all those phases. They may not be as intense as when you're diagnosed with cancer, but it's still the same kind of phases that you're going through on a smaller scale.
How quickly you go through that process. Everybody has to go through the process.
And everybody's process is different, and everybody lingers at different stages for different amounts of time, and there's no judgment here.
For sure. That's really important too. No judgment.
I'm allowed to cry. Yeah. I'm having a sad moment. I need to cry. Own that.
Yeah.
Give it space and let those around you know, hey, I'm going through a hard time right now. My business just got, the rug just got pulled out from under my feet. I'm having a hard day today. That's okay. Yeah. That's letting other people know that you're having a hard day and letting them say, hey, I'm sorry you're having a hard time.
Yeah. I think
that's all you need.
For sure. But a lot of people have a hard time just saying
that. Because there's shame around it and
so
people are worried.
Preconditioned shame and the way we should be. I think this is an integral part of self-care.
And aggressive positivity is not about being happy all the time. It doesn't have the word happy in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being positive, optimistic.
Yes, but it's creating the positivity. So the idea is that you have the control to create the positivity. And that's where the aggression comes in. It's like you're creating actions that support your flipped state of mind. So I'm going to walk you through for a minute. So I got diagnosed. My mind is running. I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm crying. My family, it was breast cancer that spread to the lymph nodes, and it was very aggressive. And so all my family came to support me. I think that's having a community and a support system around you is super important.
I agree.
Yes, no question.
And if you don't have one, create one, because that is what makes you feel like
You're not alone.
You're not alone. And loneliness is so difficult. And there is always someone. Even if you have no family, you have no family, especially in the world that we live in today. There are support groups, there are Facebook groups, there's church groups, there's you can start literally taking a drumming class. That drumming class twice a week, those people in that class become your sounding board the first 10 minutes before class. You're talking, hey, how was your week?
That's for the stage when you've already left your room and you've done your grieving and accepted it, right? But in that stage,
what I'm saying is that those people can come to comfort you.
Yeah, if you reach
out,
allow them.
Correct.
There's so many contingencies.
Yes.
Well, there again, when you're going through like depression or something like that, there are variables because you're stuck, right? You're stuck in your head.
Yeah.
When I was in Los Angeles when the whole situation with my ex-wife happened, and I was alone. And you know, I remember a week prior to everything kind of falling apart, I was on top of a mountain saying, "Wow, life is beautiful." You know, and like I can't believe I'm in LA and I'm loving being here and to be here and then boom, this happened. I was like, I can't be here anymore because the trees are not going to make me feel good. I need my family, I need my friends, I need that support.
Yeah.
So I literally picked
and
up everything.
And now imagine this is a situation where you're going through a personal conflict and you're going through a divorce, if I may say.
Yeah.
Not to take away from that situation, but imagine if now you're taking a life and that is under threat. It's not somebody who's going to continue living and you're leaving them. But it's your life that is now under question. I think the amount of anxiety and the amount of worry that is created there is monumentally different when comparing the two. It's hard for me to compare.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Because I was going through depression and I was going through anxiety. This was all me.
It may feel the same, but it's not the same thing.
Well, no.
Can't compare, is what I'm saying.
Can compare what? Saying goodbye to somebody as opposed to going through something yourself?
I would say can't compare cancer to divorce. Not to say one is worse than the other.
Divorce is like first off, everybody deals with everything differently. That's number one.
That's a given.
No. Meaning for somebody like food is something that we do, and for somebody it's an addiction, right?
For sure.
And you can't look at food as just food. Yeah. Divorce is like the word that we use to kind of like what happened, right? But divorce was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was already in depression. I was already suffered from anxiety. I was already by myself for 4 months, stuck in some little hole in someone's backyard. So I was already going through something.
But what I'm saying is there's silver lining. When you look at the thing, at your larger picture, you continue to live. You have the opportunity to be happy again. People who are terminally ill,
right? But and
then don't continue to live.
Right.
There's no silver lining. So I'm saying that.
No, but I'll give you an example.
And I'm sorry if I'm feeling very strongly.
No, but did you need support?
I did.
Why? You're not going through it. What are you going through?
Well, I was just explaining.
No. You yourself are not going through something, right? Your father is.
I know.
You are the outside
But
person.
I didn't need the same kind of support that he did.
I actually agree with Mira on this.
No, but I'm trying.
Yeah. You're trying to get it out.
No, I'm trying to explain something that's like.
He's trying to bring his point across.
Well, the point is, it's like I'm the one dealing now with my health. You're looking at it from like something happened and that person.
No. I understand that you're the one.
I'm the one who's
you're alive.
Right. But it's not just about the. Yeah, but at that moment in time, also when you're dealing with depression, and serious depression, you think that there's no point in living. Like death is like okay, great. Death is like probably the best thing. You almost like want it. You know what? Life is not worth anything. I'm not worth anything.
Well, that's when you really, really need help, emotionally and mentally and all sorts
which is what I'm saying. So you need that support.
But I'm not saying being depressed for different reasons. It's not all the same across the board. I could be depressed because I'm fat or because I'm skinny or because I have body image issues.
Right.
All I'm saying is critical illness is in another category, in my opinion, having gone through something like that. Not personally, but with my dad. And what are your thoughts on this?
I don't like to put a label on what's more or less.
No, and it's not labeling. It's just I'm saying comparing is hard. Comparing is hard.
I think that if someone has a mental health issue and they're going through a divorce, it can be just as stressful for them as a critical illness, depending on how they mentally process
it. For sure.
So
the
yeah,
effect can be the same.
you can't compare. No, you can't compare terminal cancer to a divorce. But there are people with terminal cancer that live and really take the opportunity to do everything in their heart's desire and manage to find a happiness in those last few weeks, months, years. And there's some people that go through a divorce and
never recover
and are in misery and in a dark mental place for the rest of their lives.
Right. So you're bringing an incredible point. So there's two things that we're separating. One is how you react to a situation.
It's all about how you react.
Which could be equally as painful when you're failing an exam, when you're divorcing, when you're about to die. And the other thing is the thing that you're actually dealing with. So what I'm trying to bring here is to separate the thing versus how you react to it.
Right, but you used the word divorce. Divorce wasn't the situation.
I used the word because
you know what?
Divorce wasn't it. It was mental health.
If I may, what I'd like to say is what I bring to the table with the aggressive positivity is that you can apply it to literally anything. Anything. And it doesn't matter if you lost your job, if you lost your spouse, you have a death in the family, and not to say that it's not a magic solution for everything and anything. And if you have serious mental health issues that require medication, that require consistent psychological support, aggressive positivity can help, but it is not the solution for everything. But I think in life, in everything, it's the only thing we have control over is how we react to a situation.
It's our thoughts about a situation.
Our decision on how we're going to take it. And that is, I feel, a decision in your mind on how you are deciding to take it. So, and it takes work and in an aggressive way. So when I was really down, after about 3 days, I decided to myself, okay, I'm not sick. I'm choosing to see myself as healing. I'm not sick. I'm healing. And if you can look at cancer and say, okay, that's probably one of the worst things you yourself as a person can hear about what's going on in your life. It's one of the worst. There's other things that are worse, but cancer is one of those. It's a very dramatic, moment.
I agree.
Okay,
nobody wants to hear those news.
If you can flip your mind for cancer, saying I'm not sick, I'm healing, then I would think that you could flip other situations in your life. So you were fired? No, you weren't fired. You are now free to choose what you're going to do. Your wife left you? I'm so sorry. You're going to have to mourn that, get angry about it, but now it's time for love. Now you deserve love. And if you flip your mind that way, then that is the beginning step for aggressive positivity. And what you have to do now is you say, okay, I deserve love. What action will I take to support that new frame of mind? So you can't just say, oh yeah, my wife left me, I'm going to be sad and no, flip your mind. I deserve love now. Okay, if I deserve love, then that means I'm worthy of love. And now I'm going to love myself and do actions that will attract that mate and that will make me the best me, so that when my love shows up, I'm the best version of me.
Right.
So what I'm hearing right now is really what it comes down to is learning all of these situations, whether we're talking about cancer or job loss or divorce, as examples,
Those are just life-changing, stressful, one of the top stressors that they've found.
One
in
of
life.
many, of course.
Yes.
So when those situations happen, we can choose, because we have that freedom as human beings, to, of course, grieve, of course, go through the motion of accepting a process and grieving it, but eventually we can choose to love ourselves through the process. And by that I mean allowing ourselves to have joy and happiness in the new situation that is presented to us. A lot of the times we don't have a choice about the situation. It happens to us. We cannot control other people or situations.
I can give you an example of a situation that I flipped. So there's a few. I turned a CAT scan into a fun scan. So you would think that a CAT scan also, it sounds so dark, it sounds so awful, you're sitting in a waiting room with people, it's sad, what are they going to find in the CAT scan? And there was a guy in the waiting room next to me. He was an older gentleman, and they were having trouble putting the IV into his hand. And
collapsed veins, probably.
his veins, you know, he'd been through so many treatments that his veins, and he was older, that they weren't, it wasn't easy to find the vein, and they had tried 3 times very painfully.
Aww.
And he was in pain. He was kind of moaning a little bit, and I looked at him and I said, what's your favorite kind of music? And he said to me, oh, I like the oldies. I said, you like Somewhere Over the Rainbow? He said, sure. I said, how would you like if I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow and she'll try and put the IV in? He goes, that sounds lovely.
You sang to him?
So I started singing to him, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
I'm going to start crying because that's a sad song for me.
Sorry. So all the patients that were around in the waiting room, they're kind of paying attention. He was so happy, he started singing with me. And before I had even finished singing the end of the song, the IV was in his hand.
There you go.
And the nurse looked at me.
Away.
Yeah, and she's like, wow, I wish you were here all the time to calm patients down. And, you know, we forget music takes your mind somewhere else.
Right.
Even, you know, after my surgery,
We touched on that, by the way, with Ron's movie about music and the connection to mental health. Remember?
This was the range of my motion after surgery, because a lot of nerves were cut, muscles got tight just from the scar of the surgery and all that, and I had to do physio in order to get restored. And while I was doing physio, they told me to count to 10. So I'm like, okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, and it felt like I was literally counting my pain, and I dreaded doing these exercises every day for that reason. And then one day, a weekend, I started putting on some Zumba music, you know, and it's like, sí, sabes que ya llevo un rato mirándote. And I was like, oh my God, my hand is going further, and it's more fun because I put it to music, and that was one of the things that also helped me is music all the time to help. Despacito. And suddenly I'm kind of doing this while I'm in my hand.
All of a sudden your hand is like...
Yeah, and now, you know, like a few months later, I can do all...
Music and healing and being focused on the positive is incredible. So how do you apply it to other situations that are not just cancer?
Not just cancer. So here we are, physical rehab, put it to music, do it with people.
Chronic pain, right? There's a lot of people suffering from chronic pain, all sorts of physical ailments that are not necessarily terminal, but they're there. They're going to be there for a while.
You know, I hear all the haters talking, yeah, I have pain all day long, and you know what the truth is? I don't have a magic solution for everything.
Yeah.
All I can say is that if you can train your mind to be aggressively positive for a minute a day and work up to 5 minutes a day into an hour and maybe a full day, that's 5 minutes out of your day that your body is not within tension. It's the similar ideas. Why do people meditate? It puts your body in a calm state of mind, even for a short period of time.
Yes.
That allows you to heal, to recalibrate, to focus, to appreciate. And I think appreciation is also a big part of how I was healing, because I didn't look at the nurses and doctors as my enemy. I saw them as angels that are going to save my life.
They are your helpers in that moment. And they do say scientifically gratitude and feeling and expressing gratitude has been proven to put you on a level of vibration where your cells are able to heal. You're producing chemicals in your brain and on a cellular level that are going to be aiding and supporting you through healing.
It's smiling, even if it's not from your heart, it chemically tricks your brain into releasing endorphins, which actually make you happy.
Yeah.
So the exercise of smiling,
like, I was driving and like.
it's actually a science now. So it's not something that we just talk about in the air. It's scientifically proven. Smile, do it.
Actually, it's funny. What's his name? Stephen Hawking, who passed away the other day. One of his things was look up into the stars, you know, and see the life as opposed to looking down on the floor. You know, where
for sure.
Right. Yeah. So yes, I do get it, but it's very hard, and a lot of people. And now I'm talking now as a person that's dealing with it.
Yeah.
You know, there are days where like I have like 3 or 4 days where things are all right. And what I mean by all right, meaning I'm functioning, right? I'm doing everything, and I'm not letting things bother me. And then I'll have that one day where it's just like all of a sudden, I don't know, it's gray out.
Yeah.
Things are, you know, it's a specific date.
You know, you're not alone in this.
Of course I'm not. Of course. So the other day I went for something.
Yeah.
It was a really, really awful day. and I couldn't wait. Literally, I couldn't wait for that day to be over. Like I was just like, but I said to myself, all right, this day is going to be over, and tomorrow I'm going to have another 3 good days. So I was already like, I wasn't focused too much on the negative of that day. I was already looking forward to the next 3 days that I'm going to be all right.
And that's so important with people who are going through depression periods. I physically, personally know that, but I also know that for people to have something in their near future to look forward to helps tremendously.
Yes.
Not further out, but near future. Like, tomorrow we're going to do something that is really fun for you. Okay, fine. I'm going to get out of bed because I want to do this particular thing. Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed.
Yeah.
So that's something I was going to tell you is part of aggressive positivity is finding what you love the most.
Yes.
For me, it was easy singing and spending time with my family, with my husband, with my children. But you have to schedule it in a way such that you are consistently looking forward to something that you love, rather than something that you dread.
And sometimes
that could be a week, every week, that could be every day, that could be every 3 months. It's up to you what measure of that you need in order to be happy and looking forward to something.
Right, I think though, and again, I'm talking about myself because I don't know what other people are facing, but I could tell you that basketball is one of my favorite things to do.
Right.
Like, when I play basketball, I forget about the world.
Right.
How often do you do this?
So that's what I'm trying to explain, that going through this process, I haven't been able to play basketball. I haven't been able to get myself really out there to play.
But when you say I haven't been able to get myself, have you tried?
Yeah, so I mean, I played maybe once or twice, since, but I don't know. It's just I've always had like some sort of excuses to why not go. But I know about it, right?
Yeah.
He knows he's doing it, but you're still.
There is something that is not allowing me.
It's a habit.
So I find something else to do that doesn't take as much effort, and like I kind of do something else.
The path of least resistance. We're all faulty of that. Guilty as charged, for sure. I do that a lot.
The thing though that
it's easier to not do than to actually go out of your way to do something.
So I find something else, right? So I find other ways. Making the movie, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later, was I had a schedule of every day doing something, and to be quite honest, I would have rather done basketball.
But you felt accountable
than doing half of the stuff that I was supposed to do for the film, because I felt that I need to do this. I must do this. I don't have a choice. I started to enjoy everything.
There was a team around you, and there was a schedule, and you were accountable not just for yourself, but you were accountable to the ones that you had an appointment with.
Right.
And that really gave you that fire out of your butt, if I can say that, to get out of the bed, go through the motion, and finish the day. And I know your days were so long.
My days were really extremely long.
I remember we were in constant communication.
I wouldn't go to bed every day till 4 o'clock in the morning, and 7 o'clock I'd wake up to go and do this. So I put in a lot of time, definitely.
I think if you're lucky enough, and it comes, I think it's something that anybody can use. If they're lucky enough to have somebody close to them, a partner or friends or family, like a support system, like you said, that can keep them accountable to that one scheduled thing that really makes them their heart shine. If you're not willed enough, like if your willpower is not so strong that you know you're going to do it because you'd rather do something that's easier, like in my case or in your case, schedule it in and ask somebody else to keep you accountable, or do it with you.
Do you remember when we did the film?
Does that make sense? Like somebody goes to play basketball with you. Hey, dude, are you there? Because I'm waiting for you. Where are you?
So that's
Where
the thing.
Are you going to show up?
Do you remember, like even during the film, when you told me to become a vegan, right?
Oh, I didn't tell you to become a vegan.
Well, you said you're going to be a vegan for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Just try it.
Meaning like 2 weeks of while filming, like while going through all this, you're going to be a vegan, right? And I'm like, I don't have time to cook for myself.
That's right. I had a reason for that. You still can't get over it, though. He loves to tell the story.
Well, it's are we talking about this? So I'm saying that.
We are.
But I held myself accountable. I could have easily said, you know what? She doesn't follow me. She doesn't know what I'm eating. I could be eating garbage the whole time.
No, he totally did, and he would send me pictures of his meals.
So I followed up because I had, I had a responsibility. Same thing with working out. Like I had the gym guy, and he gave me the workout session, and I said yes. I'm going to do this, and I did it. And at the end, there was a result, no question. But being accountable for something, and it's because I knew there was purpose. I knew the film was a purpose. I knew that people will see, oh, great, Ron is struggling with this movie, and he's still making it work, and we're still going to see the result. Maybe he'll be able to help. And something I noticed about me, that it wasn't so much about me being vegan. It wasn't so much about me working out. It was about what I was able to show others that it can be possible.
So you
I
were
live
motivated by
by
a meaning that was greater than just for
exactly.
So speaking of that movie,
And then
we're gonna get to see it.
And then great. So for those that don't know, we filmed a movie called Living in Darkness, which was about my personal journey going through 40 days, learning a little bit about mental health, meeting interesting people like yourselves. Mira played two characters.
Myself,
She was right. We did dancing because when her father was diagnosed with cancer, dancing was a way for her to get out of that mode and cope. And I figured, hey, let's try this. Let's see, because I remember you saying that when you dance, the endorphins that are in your body is the same as cocaine, as taking cocaine, if I remember correctly.
It's kind of like when you get addicted to sugar.
Right.
Yeah.
So that dopamine rush.
Right. So for me, it was about that, and I said, well, it's visually stimulating, and people get to see me, how I start to dance.
Yeah, you release serotonin,
and then we had a good time.
Good chemicals.
And then I used you also as a nutritionist, and you helped me a lot in terms of how I eat my food and what we put in our body, because
happy that we were able to actually find new ways for you to.
Right, and it's funny because if you open my fridge, you'll see that I still have almond milk. I don't drink regular milk. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm still following through.
Probiotics.
Right, and with you was your personal journey that kind of inspired me to want to make this movie, because I saw that there are people who wanted to make a difference, and like you mentioned something you said about your cancer, and you said breast cancer, and you said your notes, right? Your cliff notes, right? You said that it started to affect your. What did you say?
My voice?
No, you said.
No, I asked the doctor if
it would. Gotcha. So in my mind, I thought that for some reason it was going to spread. You said it was going to spread. I was thinking the thought of me losing my tongue, for example, is like the worst thing ever.
No, God forbid.
Me not being able to speak, it's like it's the end of the world.
But you know what? All along the journey, when I was at the hospital, I would always see someone in a much worse position than me.
Of course.
Then you become grateful. You're like, okay, I'm not that bad.
Of course.
It gives you perspective. And one thing about cancer, I wanted to say that it's crazy that I concluded this at the end of the journey with my father because of all the pain that we've suffered. But I wasn't angry at the cancer at the very end. I looked at cancer as a teacher, if anything. And it sounds crazy to say this, but you would understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Some people cuss at it. They say, fuck you, cancer, excuse my language. I was that person for many, many months. At the very end, I said, this is a very tough teacher, but it is a teacher nonetheless. Because if you're open to cancer, makes you pay attention where you need to pay attention because you have neglected that part of your body, your mind, something is out of alignment, and that is why your own cells are starting to multiply in this manner. That is what cancer is, right? It's malignant growth within your own body. Different types of it.
I don't want to say that that's why cancer happened.
Oh no, I'm not explaining why. I'm saying what it is. What it is multiplication of your own body cells that were once normal.
Yeah.
Something happened to the cells. We don't know why.
We don't know why.
We don't. I wish I had the answer.
Well, cancer's like anything. I mean, I'm saying it like anything. Like if, God forbid, you got into right now a serious car accident. Right? Like leaving the place. Like what are you gonna do? Screw cars? It's like that's just the piece. It's like how you're dealing with it. This is the situation that you're in, and
listen,
everything's a teaching moment.
You can have two people that suffer a violent, theft.
Yeah.
One person gets depressed and doesn't want to live life anymore because he got injured and a part of his body's not functioning, and then the other person will start an organization against violence on the street and helps change laws
and live every day to the fullest because they're so appreciative.
But what's interesting is I find that in order to make a large step or like larger than normal step within your self-development and growth, sometimes we need these extreme situations to happen.
And that's what I mean by it being a teacher. Sometimes we don't pay attention. Sometimes we live completely disconnected from our truth, from our mind, from our heart, from our soul, if I may say. A lot of people have different ways of describing it.
Yeah.
But you're out of alignment.
Yeah.
And sometimes it requires something very dramatic to happen in your life for you to snap out of it and get back into alignment. Some people do, and some people don't. Right?
It's almost like we watch history unfold within our own lives. Throughout history, there's been wars. the wars, then afterwards there's times of peace. Then people forget that there was a war in order to get the freedoms that they got, and so people start different behaviors, separatist behaviors, and then there's another war, and then there's peace again. And and a similar thing happens within our hearts and within our souls, where we say, oh, we're going to be really, really healthy, or sorry, we're eating very unhealthily, and then suddenly you have a health crisis. State of eating is healthier than it was before, but it took that health crisis to get you to that place. And I'm a perfect example of that. I mean, before that I was always milk products, check, fatty foods, check, butter on my corn, check, all the things, sweets. I didn't really pay attention to
butter is not that bad, by the way.
I know.
I was just gonna say, I love butter. If
but
it's grass-fed and organic.
Yes. And so, but now I eat more healthy. But I'm more balanced. I'm definitely balanced. I would say I am balanced now.
And it's sustainable.
And it's sustainable for me, but I don't think I would be as motivated in my previous life to get to this way of eating.
Yeah.
And so life takes you sometimes on these really difficult journeys in order to get us to a more balanced state. But unfortunately, if you keep getting hit over and over and over with these extreme situations, that becomes your new normal.
Then you're never out of the state of crisis.
Exactly, and then you need to flip to the other way.
Cortisol is pumping. You're constantly in stress. That's a whole other way of being.
Sometimes we need something. It's almost like a miracle when you get to a state of balance.
It's so funny that you're saying that. Not funny, but ironic would rather be the proper word. A friend of mine recently told me about a situation with her mom. Mm-hmm. Her mom broke her foot, I believe. Mm-hmm. Something with her foot. She couldn't move. Mm-hmm. She said, you wouldn't believe how much I was able to get done in the 2 weeks that I was forced to be at home. Mm-hmm. I was able to connect with myself, to reevaluate my life. Like, it really gave me the time. Thank God that this happened. Now, this is a foot that now healed, and now she still continues to live. But how amazing it is that a person's able to look at a situation, and she could easily say, I lost 2 weeks of work. I lost all this time. What the hell? Like, I'm angry at the situation. It didn't have to happen. The freaking steps or the stairs or the whatever happened. But she was able to look at it this way. So I want to ask you this. Do you feel like with your diagnosis, if I may ask a personal question, was there an emotional component that you feel you became aware of, that maybe an emotional disconnect or something that you needed to resolve in order for you to heal 100% the way you did?
An emotional disconnect?
I wouldn't say disconnect, but something internal that is more than just the physical. Or did you just take care of the physical?
I think at one point I had to decide that I'm going to take care of myself first.
And what did that mean to you?
So before, I was always thinking of my family first, my husband first, my kids first, everybody else first before me.
You eat last, you shower last, you sleep less.
Exactly.
It's you remind me of my sister a lot in that sense.
Yeah. Are the kids fed? Are they hot? Are they cold? Are they tired? How's my husband? Does he have his clothes for the next day? What does he want for dinner the next day? We're always kind of organizing, and then right before I walk into my bedroom and I think, oh my God, do I have time for a shower? Whereas now I'm thinking, now I'm thinking, no, I better be the best me. Otherwise I can't give. I have to be well fed. I have to be showered. I have to be organized. And then I naturally give, because that's what we do.
I love that you said that, because doesn't it come back to self-love that we talked about earlier? Recognizing that in order for you to give love and to take care of your nucleus, your family, you need to learn how to love yourself. And that is not being selfish, completely separate from
100%.
Self-love is recognizing when you need time off, when you need honoring your feelings, honoring your body. And so back to my question, anything, well, that is an emotional.
And I also didn't think too much about, why is this happening?
Okay.
I just decided to act on what's
You're
happening.
Lucky. You're lucky because you didn't overanalyze. I was
I
paralyzed
try
by
not
why.
to. Yeah.
Why? Going
Why?
back and how? What could I have done differently? What
And
if we
it's-
did this? What if we did that? Do you feel like you get stuck in that state, Ron?
I do. I'm there all the time.
Do you
Why,
feel
why,
like
why,
that?
why,
that
I'm a
could
thinker, so
But do
Yeah.
you think that for people like us who do overanalyze a lot, could maybe that is the culprit of why it's
No.
hard to move on?
no question. I remember when I was living in New York, I went to meet with a psychologist who was working with my youth center. And I said, I just want to talk to you just about stuff because I have a feeling that soon I'm going to reach a point where things are going to be bad and I don't know how to deal with it.
Wow.
And like
That's
you know,
good self-awareness.
right. But the problem is, it's even the stuff that she gave me, the information that I was provided, I still wasn't able to really use it. Like, let's just say mindfulness, right?
Right.
I try to be mindful. You know, like even when I'm eating, there are times where I take a break from everything. It's funny. I was on the phone.
You know, mindfulness is a tough word, but I wanted to address that in a
Well,
second. I don't want to interrupt.
That's just
Well,
one
people
of.
tell you to be mindful.
Well, I'll give you an example. Okay, so
It's
for
tough.
yeah, but
Be mindful. Live mindfully.
no, but okay.
I
Here's
wish
an
somebody
example.
would just
Here's an
break it
example.
down.
You eat food. Do you
Yeah.
eat,
Just being aware of
do you eat your
thoughts
lunch?
and where you are.
when you eat lunch?
When
What
do I
do
eat
you what do you
lunch?
do? When you eat lunch, what do you do?
When I eat lunch,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't do what I normally do.
Okay.
Normally it would be Netflix or doing stuff on the computer, emails.
Excellent.
But that is not eating mindfully. And
Yeah.
I would know better as a nutritionist.
What I'm saying is
Sit down at the table and eat your
eat
food.
and eat. Think about the chewing.
That's right.
So just focus on chewing. So go to yourself like, I don't know, 30 times.
I think
Count to
about
30.
how delicious the food is.
Right, and appreciate
Yeah.
everything. Go,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this bread is really, really good. It's
Yeah.
better than the one I had yesterday.
Right.
So there are times where I can do that. I do that when I'm driving because you're by yourself. And my worst times is when I'm alone. Because when I'm alone, like my brain just goes crazy. That's why I write a lot. Like if you guys saw my notes on my phone, like I have, like just in the last day, I think I wrote like maybe 50 notes.
That's such a great.
And I just write and I just
That's
kind of
such
let
a great way to
I
deal
let
with
everything
your
out.
mind.
But the
Yeah.
problem is that I'm fixated on how I'm feeling, and that's something I kind of wanted to bring up to you. Where like being sort of the CEO of this aggressive positivity. Well, you know, let's give it away. Being a part, you're now consumed in it. This is now almost like a new part of your life. So shows like this where you have to come and talk about the cancer, talking about the feelings, it brings back certain things. And for every positive, or like, you know, that I'm talking about the divorce, and again, the divorce is like one little aspect of it. It's everything else that kind of fell. That was the domino effect.
Yeah.
But every time I bring it up, something happens within me where I leave and I feel depressed again in some ways because I had to bring up that subject. And I'm hoping that one day when I bring the subject up, it's not going to affect me that much, but I'm still sensitive to it. It's still around the corner.
You know, I know exactly how you feel because I am transitioning from having that reaction to talking about my father's passing. I'm in the transition of being able to talk and not feel very sad afterwards, which oftentimes would happen. But I feel, and again, I come back to Vipassana. What really helped my mind is Vipassana, meditation, is confronting my mind because I haven't dealt and accepted it fully. And that is why the feeling of anxiety, sadness, anger kept on lingering because I haven't accepted and I haven't dealt. And when I went to Vipassana, the 10-day silent retreat, I talk a lot about that because it really had an impact on my life that was very positive. It allowed me to confront my mind, and I realized I was living in the past and in the future, but not in the present. I was constantly thinking what I could have done differently or planning for future projects that would excite me. I wasn't really being mindful, living in the present. And I recognized that and I said, holy cow, I preach all of that as a nutritionist, as a holistic nutritionist with a holistic approach to life. But look at me, I was a mess. A mess. And when I recognized that, something shifted. And that shift allowed me to then, I had a conversation and I didn't cry. Or I had a conversation and I was able to remember him with a smile.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to talk about him without breaking down.
But
You know,
sorry. Go ahead. Actually, I want you to.
I had a lot of situations just this past month where I had my first mammogram since I was diagnosed. So it's almost like taking a soldier back to where a bomb dropped to that same location, and I had totally, and I had an IV treatment for my bones. That's part of it's part of the treatment post-cancer, and they unfortunately had to administer it in the chemo ward, and it wasn't fun. Because I had the same nurse that administered my chemo, and across from me are people.
And of course it triggers all of the memories, of course.
And everybody around me is being treated for cancer. Now, I'm cured now, and I'm healthy, and I'm here getting a treatment for not to cure the cancer, it's just to strengthen my bones. And here I am in the chemo ward with the same nurse. And so, of course, you get flashbacks, and I got sad, and I had anxiety around it. And I'll be honest, I feel like I'm psychologically processing what I actually went through now. And now that I have the 1 year anniversary of everything, I suddenly I'm waking up in the morning going, oh,
I went through that?
Shit, what the hell did I just go through?
Was that my life back then?
Yeah, what did I do? And I found myself kind of going back there, and I was having a lot of PTSD, especially before that mammogram. And while the second they released the machine, I literally jumped out. I'm like, is everything okay? Do I, and I'm looking at the technician. I'm like, I know you can't tell me anything, but do you see anything in there? And she said, you're fine. You're gonna be fine. I'm like, oh. And I actually had to go speak to somebody, and it was the first time in the process that I actually had to go to speak to a psychologist. And what I needed from her was two things. One, I needed to hear that what I'm going through is in fact normal, and that it's a part of it's a part of it.
Confirmed that it
very is. And she
normal.
said this is 100%. So
110%.
it's almost like it's a part of it.
Yeah.
The 1 year anniversary of the first chemo, the first it's ingrained in your physicality. I had like a visceral reaction.
Of course you did. It's part of your cell's memory. Your cells remember that feeling, that place, the smell, the sound, everything.
And then I asked for techniques on how to handle those moments when I had the anxiety. And so one thing that helped me a lot was this is how I told her that I look at it.
Reframing by any chance?
No. So I told her the way I see it is when I have these thoughts, it's like a cloud, like you mentioned, but that it could be a stormy hour, a stormy day, a stormy week, but eventually that storm passes and there is a blue sky behind there and there is a sunshine behind there. And she said that breathing is a very like attention to your breath is very good.
Yeah. Bringing your mind out of the thinking back into your body, because you're in thinking, which is what causes your anxiety. Your mind is imagining you're going in the past.
But it's easier said than done, right?
110%.
So, like in that moment, I'm still anxious, and you know what? And in those days before, you know what I said to my family? I'm like, you know what? I'm sad today. I'm allowed to be sad.
Right.
And that's okay.
And that's so
And that's okay. And everyone was like, no, be aggressively positive. Yeah, but being aggressively positive is not being happy within that moment of trauma of anxiety. It's seeing that tomorrow it will be, believing that tomorrow the sun will come out. So it's choosing to think that way despite what you're facing.
But allowing yourself to still feel it.
Yes, because we're human. We're all human here. And we all go through trials and tribulations. And you saying that you are fixated, you are now aware that you have this behavior where you fixate on things. Mm-hmm. And just the fact, first of all, that you are aware of that.
That is so important.
But I think it's the worst thing for me. That's the thing, because I'm aware, and yet still, it's like it's difficult. So it's almost
now
like
you're able to
I'm smart enough to know, and yet I still can't help it. And
but you can.
I think it's
that's the thing. You can, and you've been trying.
Something like that happened. Yeah, I mean, it was my birthday a few days ago.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. And I had a great day. Started off, went for lunch with my family, and after about a year after the separation, I took everybody from New York. Everybody that I knew. I took them off of my Facebook because it was very difficult for me to kind of see pictures of my ex and them having fun. So not because I didn't take them off because I didn't like them anymore. I actually care for everybody. And again, as I said, the divorce is like one little thing. It's the world that I created.
Yeah.
So I took them off, and one of the guys who I was really close with, I had to stop being friends with him because of the situation. And I said, one day, we'll be friends. And he found me on Facebook. He still searched for me because he knew it was my birthday, and he sent me a happy birthday, in a long message. And I was like, wow, this guy went out of his way to wish me happy birthday, and all I could think about is my ex, and all I could think about is how he killed my day. Like I had a perfect day.
Killed your day?
Killed my day. Because he now reminded me of my ex and reminded me of like that I'm, you know, that I don't have that life anymore, and I just went I went into that world as opposed to like being appreciative of the fact that this guy went out of his way to like, wish me a birthday, and I kept battling with myself.
That
and so here I'm like, but I don't understand. Things are going great.
Did you have someone to talk to about that process in your mind?
No.
So,
well, I'd rather not. So the problem is when I talk about it more, and this is why I asked you before that question, where, you know, when you're doing aggressive positivity, like you're immersing yourself in, you know, you can't get out of it because you're always talking about your cancer. You're always talking about what you've gone through.
I disagree with you.
No? Okay. For me, it's tough because I'm in it. And,
I disagree with you. I'm not talking about it, and that's what helped me. So while I was in the process, I didn't want to be around other people that were going through what I went through because and this was for me.
Personal.
This is my personal way of dealing with it. Is I didn't want to hear anybody else's story because that's not my story.
Right.
It's just like when I was pregnant. I didn't want to hear anybody else's birth story because that's not going to be my story.
Right.
I'm not the same person. I don't have the same physicality. There's no birth story that is exactly the same. So no matter what you told me, it wasn't going to be how I was going to handle it. And so I didn't want to hear other horror stories of what happened to people when they got, I had an allergic reaction to the chemo, whatever. I didn't want to hear any of those stories.
You were very careful to stay on that positive
And I
track.
told everybody around me, send me only funny videos, funny situations. If you have a weird physical ailment you're willing to share, tell me about it. I want to hear it. I want to laugh. And I decided that all I want to do is laugh. So I watched this amazing show, Impractical Jokers.
I love it, yeah.
And I couldn't stop laughing. That's all I did
So that is
for the whole
what
time.
you're talking about by being aggressively positive.
So I got I said, and you know what? I recruited everybody around me on that plan. I said, if you want to help me heal, I need you to show me only the positive parts of yourself, and I cannot handle at this point, because I'm trying to lift myself up spiritually and physically, I cannot handle your challenges.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing that you were strong enough to vocalize that and to set the boundaries. A lot of people, when they go
don't come and cry. Don't come and cry. I know you're sad. Cry when you leave.
Yeah.
Cry when you're in your car outside. I mean, there were a lot of friends that didn't see me and then saw me bald. I said, listen, I'm bald. I only want to laugh. I only want to sing. I want to dance. I want to do fun stuff. We're going to do a Zumba YouTube exercise video. You're going to join me. And I told everybody around me, everybody knew, do not cry in front of me.
You must have probably learned a lot about different behaviors of friends and family.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't know how to handle
I told
cancer.
them, do not talk. This is what a lot of people, well-meaning, wanted to know. So this was how the conversation would go with friends. It's so well-meaning, and I'm not judging, but they would be like, so when's your next chemo? When's your next? Why are you asking me? That's gonna just make me think about my next chemo. I'm not thinking about my chemo right now. Why are you?
Because they don't know.
They just want answers.
People
right?
focus on the health conditions. So, what are your counts out now? Is your immunity too low today? I have no idea. I don't want to know. What are the side effects of what did your doctor say? When is your last appointment? That's not what's interesting about my life right now. It really isn't, and that's not what I was focusing on. So I had to change those around me from doing that.
And how did they take to it?
Amazing.
Okay, that's
they just, because people want to make you happy and they want to help, and for me that was how I got better, by not talking about it, listen, it's inevitable. I had a surgery. I had to do a surgery. So what? So I'm going to talk about it for 3 months leading up to it and work my body up to it? No.
The problem is it's we as people, we don't know what somebody else is going through, and we're living off of somebody's information. So.
Right, and so when someone is going through a hard time, rather than me coming up to you and saying, Ron, I want you to walk me through right now the pain that you felt during your divorce, how shitty do you feel after?
Right.
It's not always therapeutic to relive it over and over and over.
That's what I'm saying.
How much more fun would it be? Ron, I'm meeting you on the slopes of Blue Mountain tomorrow, 9 a.m. We're at the top of that mountain, and we go skiing, and we go through, and we have adrenaline, and we laugh, and then we go on the chairlift, and we're like, wow, that was awesome, that felt awesome. How much more fun is that? How much more therapeutic is that? So, you know, and not to say that therapy doesn't have a place, but sometimes taking action and doing something other than what is bothering you, and that's what I'm talking about aggressive positivity, is scheduling those kind of things so you're looking forward to skiing instead of talking about or obsessing over, I didn't Google. I stayed off of Google. I stayed off of those breast cancer support networks. And I know some people need that, and maybe I could go there now, but for me it was much more fun to hang out with my girlfriends and not talk about it. And
it's so interesting, that perspective, because I too, like many of your friends, well-meaning friends, with all my good intentions for my dad, he was a cartoonist slash MD, very humorous man, needed humor in his life. We did talk a lot about what he's going through, and I think there was a time and a place to just sit there and say, tell me about that CAT scan. How did your IV go? And some, like you said, it's not always fun to relive. But
sometimes you need to get it out. It's true.
I would say sometimes if you haven't vocalized it, in vocalizing it, you're able to release some of that stagnation energy that is sitting in your lungs and is choking you up.
You must. But then do you harp on it? Are you sitting every day going, oh, you had a painful IV yesterday, and then the next day, oh, 2 days ago you had a painful IV.
But I think
letting go.
So this we're going back to where we really started, and we kind of shifted. You asked about the film, right? And I want to bring that up is that this show is that aggressive positivity. The show that we're doing, the Prickly Pear show, is the aggressive positivity.
Because the Prickly Pear is aggressive on the outside, so sweet on the inside, and fun.
No, that's not why.
No?
The idea of, even after shooting the film for all that time and working really hard, I could have said, you know what? There's no movie, you know, like I can't do anything with it right now. I don't have the footage. You know what, enough with this film stuff, let's just like do something else and forget about it. This is being creative, this is talking about interesting, so it's kind of like I said, no, I'm gonna move forward.
You're embodying the idea of aggressive positivity and saying, okay, here, we came up with a challenge.
Right.
What do we learn from that challenge? And how can we grow? Maybe you are meant to go beyond your original idea and make something bigger.
Exactly.
So what? So you're missing footage. So what? It doesn't mean that you don't move forward. So you have to go forward despite. You know what? I was scared of surgery. So what? So you do it anyway. You move forward anyway, even if you're scared. And a part of the aggression is also you move forward without necessarily analyzing why. So right now, people can look in hindsight and say to me, oh, maybe you got your cancer so that you can inspire others, so that you can have this. But while I was going through it, I didn't sit and think why and what my purpose is. My purpose emerged through doing. Through action is how we can actually affect people and things. It's like almost like the path gets lit up ahead of you, so you are powering forward with this movie. You're just going to go ahead and you're going to shift the focus, you're going to enlarge in your horizon, and through that the purpose will emerge, not by sitting on the couch here analyzing what happened and and this is terrible. No,
so that's
go forward.
So I had a week. So after, again, we'll just bring it up.
Sorry, and that's a part of the process is to be sad. It's true, but then keep going.
So I took a week. So once, just again for the audience to know, we shot a film. I was preparing for about 6 months, and we shot for about 45 days. And some of the crew members were causing a lot of problems on set, and started not showing up. Call themselves volunteers, and you know they don't owe me anything, forgetting the goal of the film and what we're really trying to do, and then at the end demanding all this money from me and putting me in a situation. By the way, the demand happened 2 days after I lost a dear friend who was a part of the film. Like that's the insensitive types of people that we were dealing with.
Basically, there was a lot of politics and a lot of
It's more than ego. It's more than ego, and that's the problem. It's like even today, right? We got a message from an anonymous person, kind of saying that, hey, Ron is responsible for breaking down the film. That's not the truth. If I had the footage, why wouldn't I edit the film, right? The problem is somebody's holding the footage hostage. And if I allowed it to really bother me, then I'm not going to be able to move forward. So what I decided to do is I decided to take, I have...
Keyword is decided.
Decided, yeah. I decided... I needed to take that. I needed to take that week to kind of... Look, I was in a...
Digest,
I was in a bad place because I just said, I haven't made money for 2 months. I didn't sleep well for 2 months, and now this is taken away from me, and I don't know what to do. And I went to go to court. I mean, to deal with lawyers and try to do all that. And I can't afford right now to go into lawsuits and all that, even though I know I'm going to win. What do I do? So I took time and I said, all right, I'm going to reshape the film and make it into something else and not follow it. So today when we got the message, and Mira was hammering on me today, it's like, well, this guy's saying this and this guy's saying that. I'm like, look, that's not the truth, and I know what the truth is. I don't need to play this game. He's been playing a game with me, and I literally told her, like, enough, Mira. Like, just stop. Like, lay off it, because I already made a decision of what I'm going to do. If I'm going to start fixating on the negative, which is that, then I'm never going to have a film, and I might get the footage, and it's never going to come out. I want to make sure that the film that I'm going to be doing is going to serve the people, and at the same time, it's going to serve me. Because at the end of the day, this is my journey. And if I tell the story through somebody else's eyes just to appease them, it's not the truth, and I have to live for the truth, and this is why I want to make it my way. I'm not allowing him to bother me. Like, that's the thing. I'm like, that's why I'm ignoring it. You're thinking I'm cowardly not responding, but it's not that. I know what the truth is. Well, not cowardly, but I'm saying.
Can I paint a picture for you? By the way, it's 111. I see numbers all day long.
Yeah, is it 11?
Yeah, no, it's 111.
Love it. It's my favorite number.
Okay, I'm going to paint a picture for you right now. Your film, in the new reshaped form, without this footage, gets Sundance acclaim, becomes a cult classic, brings new. Forced you to reshape the film in a way that was even more meaningful than it was before. Now, you may look at this guy and say, oh, this person stole the footage and is terrible and is a terrible person, but maybe he's just fulfilling a part of the plan. A part of the plan was that you should lose that so that you can make it better.
Right.
And you don't see that right now, because we're sitting here and you're in the state of anger and you're like, oh, again, it's going to the extreme in order to get to a new place of balance. Your film wasn't good enough the way it was before. Obviously, that 100 hours of footage that you're missing, not necessary. Now, if it comes into your life again, amazing. But now you needed to be shifted, and this was the only way. Because had you had that 100 hours of footage, you would have completed this film, it would have been released, and maybe it wouldn't have been in enough of a good shape to create the awareness and the tikkun olam, or like the real, having a real effect on the world that you wanted. But you can't see that right now because you're angry, or you're in the still state of, you can see in your body language even that you're still, you have this stress and anger. But stop seeing it that way.
Yeah.
And choose to see and envision the new way that it's, the new form that it's going to take. And that's the transformation, and take action on that new way. So the second you said to me, Limor, I'm still going to do this movie, but I'm reshaping it, I got excited because I thought to myself, oh my God, Ron is taking this situation and he's flipping it. He's saying, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to change direction, and guess what? It's going to be better for it because you're applying new concepts and a new wind, and it's going to get a new direction, and you know what? New lessons.
I like your point, because what you're saying, and I apply that in my life often, is that if you feel that you're met with a lot of resistance for any particular situation, rather than trying to hammer through the door, maybe try to look for another door. And what you're presenting here is another door. On the flip side of the situation, realistically speaking, if we have enough footage to create a new masterpiece, a reshaped masterpiece, amazing. However, I wrote that in my comment that I didn't publish yet because I could see that your anxiety level again was rising, and I didn't want to cause more anxiety to your day because I know you're dealing with it already. But I said in my comment, if Israel and Palestine could sit down and have a conversation to resolve a conflict, I'm fairly confident two individuals that know each other can have a conversation and come to some kind of resolution. And once you try that, if that doesn't work, I say then try the new way. But if you haven't tried something like this, I say do it for the bigger purpose, because it's not just about you, it's about the impact that the movie has. It's about all those amazing
what you're
all
not
those
understanding.
amazing individuals that were involved in the process.
No, now you're being selfish, if I may. I'll tell you why.
Watch how you point your hand.
Yeah.
So if you say selfish, we're looking at you as being
right,
selfish.
Right, no, 100%.
That's I'm just saying how it comes off.
I'll say the way
Point
it
a
is.
finger and
Because
feel,
I have to deal with it.
That's a really good
I'm the one that has to deal with it. I'm doing a film on mental health.
Right.
And I have a mental ill person who has to sit next to me and make my day worse, while everybody else is sitting outside of this place and telling me how they feel about their time. So if anybody, I've dedicated that time. I've been there. I'm the one that's in the trenches. I'm the one inside. This is why, like, what you're being right now is America. Why don't you guys just sit over coffee and discuss your issues? It's not just that. It's you're dealing with terrorists. And, if you want to talk about the Palestine-Israel situation, Israel is not about to deal with Hamas. Right. Israel wants to find a moderate. If you find me the moderate in this film, meaning somebody who can, I don't have to deal with the head of Hamas because I know what his view is. You bring in that moderate. You want to be that moderate, you be that moderate. But don't put me in the same situation as this, because meaning like having to sit there and like you have bygones be bygones for the sake of the film. I'll make the film. The film is going to be done. It's going to be done. It's kind of like, if Israel waited for the Palestinians to have peace, they would have not been able to get up.
All I'm saying is when we remove the ego, every situation has
It's not about ego. It's not about ego.
Okay.
And you brought up a point, and I sat here listening to it, and you said the Israel-Palestine. Great, you tackled something very interesting.
Well, I knew it was
Israel, right?
Oh
So Israel created, like a fence to keep the terrorists out, right? Not to just sit there, we're going to wait for negotiations to happen. They still said no. The safety of my people is more important. We're going to have an iron dome. We're going to have all these things to protect us. We don't really care about them, right? They're not the issue. We're trying to protect ourselves at the end of the day. So yeah, we want to come to a peaceful solution to have peace in the region.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not about the peace in the region. It's about protecting our people. Why does Israel want peace? Because it wants to protect its...
Right, but in this situation, it's not about you being under threat. It's about the good of the movie.
No, but you're not understanding. It is the threat. Because if I have to have that person sitting next to me, dictating how the film is going to be, at the same time, this person is holding the footage hostage. At the same time, this person wasn't there during the filming. At the same time, all these other issues that you guys know, because again, you guys are there for a day. You're not seeing the full picture. The only information you guys are getting is from what he says and what she says, right?
What you said
and what he says. That's all you're getting. But the real information is in the pudding. The pudding is...
That's why I said to you, Ron, there's three truths to a situation. There's your truth, there's his truth, and then there's the actual truth.
Let's break it down.
Can we...
Yeah,
No, this is serious because we brought up something. I'm a very passionate person, and I put in, again, for me to put so much effort into something, so much effort. Like I bled into this, okay? Like I had hard days where like my depression, my anxiety were at all-time high, and I had to smile throughout everything and move forward while juggling everything, while people were like, I just didn't care to show up today. Or this actress is not important, or this person. And then to come off and write a message like, Ron doesn't care about the film, he's abandoning it.
I understand an emotional reaction to him, but I'm saying put your emotions to the side for a second and think about a way to come out to a resolution.
I did. I'm taking that negative person out.
That's not
and I'm
a
making
solution.
Of course it is.
Why?
How is it not a solution?
Why not?
Because isn't there a way to be able to get the footage and save the footage?
So,
I'm still thinking...
The terrorist. Sorry.
But
and in the words of Einstein,
that person's a terrorist.
Okay, if this person is taking something hostage, that's a terrorist behavior. No?
Yeah.
Blackmailing someone?
Blackmailing,
okay.
yeah.
In the words of Einstein, you disassociate yourself with things that you consider evil. So what Ron is doing is he is saying, okay, this person is doing an action that you cannot negotiate with someone that's blackmailing you. Period. And so if he is saying, I will not come to the table with this person, I think it's correct. And then he can move forward with a more amazing vision for the movie. Now, if someone who dedicated a day to the movie is coming at him saying you don't care about the movie, then you know what, maybe you don't care about the movie because all you're looking at is your own perspective. and he has put
But
his
that was
life.
not what I was saying. I wasn't talking about me personally.
No, I know. You
talking
want
about
him to come to the
impact.
table, but you know what? I'll tell you something. When it comes to, you know, wars and countries, I mean, I think we went outside to
Well,
a topic that
Yeah,
she-
totally
it's
did.
not, it's
Mira-
not what,
Mira-
this,
Mira-
what I
Mira-
thought I was coming to talk about,
No,
but
for sure.
I will tell you something that,
Yeah, that's a
you know,
fair point.
something that I mentioned in one of my performances is that if you can't have peace within your own home, with your own brother, with your own friends, with your own husband, how can we have peace between cities, between countries if you cannot make peace at home? And now in this particular situation with what happened with the film, that will not derail this film.
No.
It will not derail, and I would never sit at a table with someone who is holding me hostage and blackmailing. No way will I come to the table with my good intentions with that person's bad intentions. No way, unless they're willing to say, here, I'm going to give you back that
for
footage.
the purpose of salvaging the footage and the hard work that you've put into them.
But he's tried. This person is blackmailing him for money. How can you say that? He's blackmailing
Because she's
him.
not at that situation. She's not in the point. She's not living what I'm
I
living.
still believe that there's a way to resolve any conflict.
So-
That's
Agree. Listen, a way that person has to, the other side has to be willing, and
Yeah.
he's not willing.
So I think maybe
Terrorists are
it's
not
time
willing.
for
If
somebody
someone's
to
putting a
intervene.
gun at your kid's head, you're gonna talk to that person.
Mm.
Sorry, you're gonna talk to that person. There's certain times
Oh,
in
that
life.
person with the gun.
Sorry, but that's what he's doing. He's putting
Yeah.
a gun and he's saying, I want money, or I'm not giving you the film. How do you come to the table to? I think
You don't come to
sometimes
the
in
table,
life.
you do take other steps to resolve the situation.
Guys, there were so
But
much.
there's-
Again,
I don't think
there
there's
are
something
things.
to resolve.
there-
To me, it's like
there are
let it
things-
go. You have resolving sometimes. There's sometimes where diplomacy has a place, and there's sometimes where you have to just let it go.
I'm not
I
talking
think,
about diplomacy, I'm talking about actions. Isn't there ways that legally you're entitled to the
yeah,
footage?
with a lot of money.
Again, you're talking
Going
about
to
something.
lawyers.
She was
If
talking.
you want to fund his
You're
law,
hilarious.
his
I would
his
like to start a
lawyers,
fund.
then we
I'm
will get that footage
amazing,
back.
Amazing.
Oh, look,
You-
you just gave him
Yeah,
a
of course I
fish.
gave. I'll tell you why.
Maybe.
Because if we want to personalize something, we want to say, Ron, you go and do. I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, give me $5,000 to keep this guy quiet.
Ron, in all due respect, I did look for people and I spoke to my contacts and I tried to get.
Who asked me for money?
Yeah, but I did try. It's not like I told you.
No.
I actually tried to help you.
Yeah. You said talk to this lawyer who's charging $300-something an hour. You
So
know,
let
like,
me ask you something.
I-
You
it's
brought,
not-
for the whole
you
for the
brought
letter.
me. You brought me on the show, and you wanted me to shed light on things.
Yeah.
And this is going into a very personal
As
thing
it
that
usually does.
I don't know if that's what the direction you meant for this conversation to go. But my question
Yeah.
for you is, what do you think I can add to the situation, and what do you think could be?
So I think you just did without even noticing. I just took a step back because I was very much into this. I did take a different direction. So meaning my aggressive positivity
Mm-hmm.
was to say, this guy is not going to ruin the movie.
Exactly,
I'm still going to do something out of it. It's not going to have the vision that I wanted when I first started.
and that's fine.
Because there were amazing people who I interviewed who actually, like, by the way, your footage is there.
Mm-hmm.
Other people's footage is not.
Do you think I only care about
No,
that?
but I do think that
That's an insult.
I
I'm
do
talking
I do-
about the greater good.
I
Ron.
understand, but the greater good is really looking at the big picture, not
the
just
impact.
the impact will still be there. The film will still be there. Again, I'm the one that has to go home and say to myself, I wasted 6 months of my life working this and working really hard.
And why
But
do
I'm
I
not
care
look,
about that?
but I'm not looking at it that way.
Great.
I'm looking at it as like I learned something throughout by making this film is that there are ill people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot be surrounded by these types of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they serve me and the
Of
film
course, especially
no
if you're
good.
going through stuff yourself.
They're
right?
they're
That doesn't
serving
help the
they're
situation.
serving me no good by being a
course.
part of the film.
Yeah.
So in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
it helped the film because now I cut off the cancer. It sucks that there is no leg, right? That's really what I look at. It sucks.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm alive, and yet you know, and people will say, "Wow, he did this all with one leg."
You disagree?
So I'm cutting him off.
No. this
For
is
me to come there and meet with some, again, like just the audacity of sending that message to everybody today,
No, I know.
saying I
I'm-
compromised the film,
I know. I totally
is
agree
like,
with you.
it's such a, and I mean, thankfully today we have text messages and emails and exchanges that we can all see as proof. Where
Listen.
I'm like, let's meet up, let's talk, let's
Yeah.
bring the contract.
Mm-hmm.
I just
you have till Christmas, and the guy's not responding. Something about it.
And first of all, this is great. It's really great news to hear that the movie is still going to move forward. You're still editing whatever it is that you have.
Correct, yeah.
However much of it you do have. On a different subject, I would like to commend you for handling this with such poise, because like you said, and I feel that energy of yours when you were hit with that anger from the side, and I was too. You did not come here prepared, being a negotiator between two fires and talking about something that is quite far removed from the subject of aggressive positivity, but I'm very impressed with how you were able to spin off of the situation and say, this is how you can apply it, even in this audacious situation.
Well, I find that,
So I want to apologize on both of our behalves for putting you in a position where you feel uncomfortable and like unprepared and totally on the spot. So I'm sorry.
There is some prickly
It's
to
okay.
everything that's sweet.
Yeah.
It's
So, I just feel like we don't need to go through the intricacies of who said what and how and the text messages.
We really don't.
And
That's
what's
sinking down to their level.
No.
We don't need to sink down
And
to
also,
their
like, you guys are partners, so throwing insults at each other is, you're talking about Israel and Palestinians. Like, you guys need to learn to talk to each other in a way that will support and expand the vision of what the Prickly Pear show is, even. So this was very prickly. When we're going to look back at the footage, you're going to see a lot of heated anger, and I think that you need to see beyond what the little things that are happening that get you upset. And I think that you've done that very well in saying, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to, and when you start telling people that someone is selfish or that you're being insulting, what happens is you actually change that body that you're talking to. You make that person go into a place of anger and defensiveness, and nothing productive comes out of that ever. So if I'm having an argument with a friend or my husband, I try never to put a label. You're acting selfish, you're acting insulting, you're acting, because what that does is it actually just shows poorly on you and doesn't move the situation beyond. So what happened now, I'm actually glad that it happened, because you know what? It's prickly, and it's an opportunity to learn, and we're all going to learn here something. And what
definitely about communication, about being sensitive to other people's emotions when you're expressing your thoughts or feelings, and I feel like there's a little bit of an irony that you're bringing to the light, because I know Ron does not like labels, and then using labels, it kind of brings to the surface the irony of and the duality of our being, of how we want to be treated, yet we treat people a different way. So,
and I think a good way to flip something like that is to think, okay, rather than behaving in a selfish way, I'm going to behave in a selfless way. How can I be more selfless? So if a question comes to you, try always to give rather than take.
Oh, yeah.
So if you need a compliment, give a compliment. You think someone is behaving selfishly, give them selflessly, and then you change their behavior towards you without even realizing, because that's the only thing you have control over is you. The only thing you have control over is how you handled the situation right now. So if you sit and if you really feel that she was behaving selfishly in that moment, you take a deep breath. We're going to rewind and say, how can you get a different reaction out of Mira? So take a deep breath. Okay, she's only thinking about her perspective. How can I flip that? Okay, I want to explain to you, Mira, that I appreciate so much how you changed your whole schedule for that day. I know that you showed up for a day, but it took you time to prepare. You had thought about it for weeks in advance, what you're going to talk about, how you're going to dance. You worked on your dance routine. You got a costume ready. You rented out the studio. You made phone calls. She actually did a lot of selfless things and was not paid for that one day of filming, you look at it as one day of filming. No, she actually had weeks in preparation and organizing her family. Just an example. Yeah. So you could rewind and start that conversation and say, Mira, and I know that you put so much effort, and you're thinking of all the effort of all these other people to make this movie, that maybe I could come to the table with this guy. However, I want to tell you, without getting angry about it, that this guy wants an exorbitant amount of money for the footage, and he's blackmailing me. And how would you react if someone blackmailed you? Would you feel comfortable coming to the table with that person that is blackmailing you? And what I want to tell you is that if I do business with a guy like that, I'm doing a disservice to the movie, because I'm dealing with someone who's holding footage hostage. I don't know what he's going to do. He might take 3,000 and then take more. Like here, he gave me a hard drive. The hard drive is empty. You cannot negotiate with a terrorist or with someone that is blackmailing. That's like 101 politics. Everybody knows that, right? But you can
the reason I get hot about it, and
Why?
again, is because these conversations have happened. This is not like we're bringing something up the first day. I have already put things out there. My cast, like I reached out to you. You knew about the situation.
No,
I reached out to you. So I've already explained like what is being happened. But at the same time, it's like, well, come up with something. It's like, well, I'll give you, So in my mind, I'm like, you guys serious? Like, I care about this film and the hard work so much.
So just express yourself without without the anger, because understand everybody's coming from a good place. It's like when I was sick, people were saying to me, oh, you have cancer, be positive, you're gonna be okay.
Right.
Fuck you.
Right.
What the hell does that mean when you're facing chemo, explaining to my 3-year-old that Ima's gonna be sick and that I won't be able to read you a story before bed? What the hell does that mean? Do I get mad at those people that said that to me? No. They came out of the best intention. They don't know what to say. They're at a loss of words.
Right.
And here are people that invested their time in the movie, and they're saying to you, Ron, try and find a way. Even if they say to you 5 times, or even if strangers come to me, oh, you have cancer, be positive. I don't lash out at those people. You take a deep breath. You realize that the intention is a good intention, and to help direct them. So you say to those people, you know what? I have exhausted my avenues. Here is my plan. Here is my redirected movie, and if you want to help this movie come out, then help advertise my new campaign to raise money, and here's my new strategy.
You're touching upon a point, right? So this conversation has already been had many times, and I've already come up with that solution where I said we're moving forward.
So keep talking about it.
So then we're taking me backwards. So the idea is like, God damn it, like you're making me feel like as if I don't care about this thing, like as if I can't put my ego aside. It's got nothing to do with ego.
You are allowing what she said to make you feel that. She never said that. She never said the words, you don't care about the movie.
No, nor did I imply that at all.
You're allowing yourself to feel that. You are interpreting what she said. And so this is a part of, okay, if someone said to me, be positive, you have cancer, you're going to be okay, right? If I allowed that to make me feel bad about having cancer and get depressed, that's one thing. You have to be able to take what she said and separate it. She's not saying you don't care about the movie. Of course you care about the movie. The fact that she brought it up 10 times doesn't mean that she doesn't think you made an effort. Only you are allowing yourself to feel that. Do you understand that? She didn't actually say those words, and she doesn't actually feel that way, which is just confirmed right now.
If I did not care about the movie,
she just cares so much
as I do, it would never be.
She's thinking maybe there's a diplomatic.
No, but you're looking at the word. You're looking at the word peace. This is from the analogy that you used. You're looking at like the word peace, and I'm looking at it like
I'm looking at peace is not. Solution is not peace.
So there is a solution. Solution is I still make the film. I still do what I do.
Okay.
And the same way we're like I got everybody together and made the decision of this is going to happen. We're going to do this. My problem is that the people that I'm surrounding myself with, not Mira, but like the people that I had before, were all volunteers, and all of a sudden everybody's coming out and like calling me out, like how come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing that? It's like I don't have the means to do these things. It's great that you're giving me suggestions, but I don't have the means to make any of this happen. And I'm trying whatever I can. And whenever I'm telling somebody, take action, they pull themselves out. No, I gave you a number to call. I gave you this to call. So it makes me feel like, no, if you really want to be in there with me, tell this person. Call this person out. Let them know exactly what you know. Right?
And I did that wrong, which is why I was surprised with the labels, because in the background how much I really tried to help. Try this way, and I tried another way. I'm a person, I'm pretty stubborn in my ways, and so I will always look until everything is exhausted. And so like you mentioned, I did come here with good intentions, not in an accusatory tone, saying, what if there's one more way? What if we haven't exhausted all the possibilities to salvage that footage? It is wonderful footage. All these hours that you put into this.
100%. And again,
and
100%.
You react with emotion. So
of course I do, because I work really hard.
Right. So
and
that's why I was saying separate the emotions from the facts.
What? Separate again. You're telling me to separate my feelings from the situation that I'm in.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's very difficult for me. Because it's so personal, because it's very, very personal. Because again, I felt that we all worked really hard on this film, right? And all of a sudden, somebody selfishly.
All the more reason to look for more resources to finalize this situation. Now, if you're saying I've exhausted everything, you've exhausted it, and that's fine. I'm only saying maybe there's another way.
I found a solution. That's what I'm saying. I found a solution.
If that's your solution,
my solution is to ignore the negative and think about the positive.
Look, burying yourself under a rock is also not always a solution. I'm not saying that's what you're doing.
Who's under a rock?
I'm not saying that's what you're doing. However, ignoring a problem and not dealing with it is not going to make the problem go away in a certain situation.
Who's ignoring it?
Nobody ignored it.
No, yeah, I know, but I don't know anything about what happened between the two of you other than what you've told me.
Guys, listen.
Yeah, now it's becoming very very
guys, listen. Do you need to be here, because I could
this is actually fantastic.
No,
it's great to have somebody looking at things from a different perspective.
Okay.
See, my personal issue is that I take things to heart. I'm a passionate person,
right.
And especially if I feel like I've exhausted and I've done, and I'm in the trenches and I'm there, and I'm the soldier, and somebody from the outside is telling me, I've noticed something. Your gun position is not in. I want to take that gun and hit somebody in the head with it. Are you serious right now? You're telling me in battle, sitting over there in your comfortable couch, and that's how I feel. Everybody's sitting on the outside. Nobody's dealing with the situation except for me, and everybody has an opinion, and it's fantastic, great. I appreciate the opinion, but at some point you have to stop.
I think the important lesson from this is what you already said, is that you decided to take action, and rather than turning this into a very personal venting session, can we just bring it back?
Of course.
Why we have our guest here, because she's in between two fires, and I feel incredibly uncomfortable on your behalf.
All right. Sorry, I apologize that this happened.
This is the prickly pear. Things just got very prickly.
Things like that happen often. Things like that happen often because both Mira and I have opinions on stuff, and this is why I think we can have a show.
But my question to you is, so that this doesn't become like a Jerry Springer type show, and to elevate the prickly pear to a higher level, because I feel like I was just in between a Twilight Zone.
I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay, but the way to bring this show beyond that is to understand what we can take out of this. And this is real life. So what happened just now, this is real life.
100%.
People live like this with spouses, with brothers, with sisters, with colleagues, and
except this is all happening live.
And this is all happening live on the Prickly Pear Show.
That's what the you said you want to bring up the thing about the movie, right?
Okay.
So we talked about it.
But can we bring it still back to?
Yeah, we're taking it back.
Let's bring it. Let's take it out of that, and because.
You're worried about the time. You said, what, do I have an hour to fill in?
Well, we have 20 minutes left, and the question is, can we move beyond that?
We can,
and
absolutely.
I hear both of you guys repeating the same thing over and over and over. He did this, but I did this, and I did this, and I'm trying. So let's, for a moment.
What are we doing right now with aggressive positivity? So how are you doing? What are you doing right now? No, I want to tell her about,
That's okay.
I'm moving it towards her. What do you do about aggressive positivity, right now? What impact are you seeing? Do you see people falling into it and listening to you?
So what I am seeing is that people are starting to apply it in everyday life situations. So I have one girlfriend who has a difficult situation with her husband, and they're really rocky. I'm talking like a family, similar to what you're going through, that may eventually get to where you are, and it's a really sensitive situation. And her husband said to her, we need to be like Limor. We need to be aggressively positive that we can get through this, and we have to not only flip our minds to think that we can get together, but we have to take action that will, you know, it's putting your money where your mouth is, and taking action into moving in the direction where we need to go. And it doesn't mean that they will stay together, and please God, I hope they do. But
even if they don't, they've tried and they've taken action.
You need to, yeah. And you know, the Hebrew word for mazal is makom zman la'asot. Mazal. It means being at the right place at the right time and doing something. We're not allowed. You didn't know that?
No.
Mazal. Isn't that amazing?
That's
so
beautiful.
You find your luck by action, and it's being at the right.
You don't stumble upon it. It doesn't fall on your head
from
a tree.
No, in our religion, God wants you to actually take an action towards your future. We're not here on earth to just coast through life. We're supposed to take action and decide to do good, decide to move forward, decide to be good to the people around us, and do good deeds. Not think about doing good deeds, it's doing the good deeds. Yes, which I think is really important in all these situations with everything. And what just happened here is you guys need to come together and say, okay, in the future we will, and we decide if we have a grievance, we will take it elsewhere, we will discuss it later, or if we are intending on talking about it on the Prickly Pear Show, we're going to discuss it, we're going to have it out in order to come out with a solution. So we're going to say, all right, Ron, we're going to have it out for a moment. You think I said this, you don't know, but the end of this is to come up with a solution. And the solution right now, or the place where you guys come together, is that you're saying, okay, I really wish that you came to the table and exhausted all your avenues, and you're saying, I did exhaust them, and I actually have a plan, and let's move forward. And okay, so we're going to move forward, and let's enough. Let's just take action and move forward. And even if the action is not the perfect action, and you need to switch direction again, you only know once you've taken the action.
But until you take that one step towards the action, you won't know.
That's something that I've learned from my husband's side of the family, is they're very decisive. They make decisions and they go forward. If they made a mistake, okay, we have to go back and we have to rejig, but they go.
I love
they
that.
Make educated decisions, and they look at all their options, but then they power forward.
They don't dwell on it too long.
They don't dwell, they don't say, oh, what should I do? No. We're going to do, here's all of our options. We're going to take this avenue. Here's the situation. It sucks or whatever, but okay, here's what we can do.
I love that.
And they go forward. And in this situation, you're moving forward. And in this show, you want to elevate it? Move forward. Elevate it. Just keep elevating, because in life, if you're not moving up, you're moving down. There's no such thing as coasting through life like this. Like I'm sure that you've noticed,
110%.
if you're like just kind of like coasting, you're actually going down.
Right.
In everything.
Yeah.
Whether it's your health, with your friendships, if you're coasting, you just have to continuously learn and always decide to do better for yourself, for your health, for your movie, for everything. Take action consistently. And it's tiring, but the more you do it, the easier it gets to just continuously move. And that's what I feel like is our reason on earth, is to do better and to light up the world. And despite the prickly pear, get inside to the meat of everything, to the sweetness and to the joy, and to find joy within everything. Within everything that you do. Like when I was lying down on the CAT scan machine, I was cracking jokes with the attendants, and I was imagining that all this good energy is coming to me, and that everything is going to be okay, and that, even if it's raining on me, I'm going to dance and enjoy. And you really can find the silver lining in every situation, and even if that means changing direction, and like
you just need to put yourself in the right state of mind. I think the mindset is such a huge component of being able to see that silver lining, right?
I learned very, very quickly that people couldn't say no to someone who's bald. So guess what I did? I did everything I wanted to do. I'm going to sing, I'm going to do a video, because no one can say no. And it's interesting that was the silver lining for me. And so within situations that you have in life, it's like, my kids sometimes drive me crazy, because they do little kid things. No, whether it's getting them out of the house, getting dressed. I have an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And so, you know, in the morning, getting them out of the house, here's a situation where it's a tiny little flip, but it's something that
could trigger a whole chain of reactions.
Okay, so my mornings for a long time consisted of me screaming, "Get out, everybody, let's go. It's time to get out of the house. Put your shoes on. And I'm screaming like an idiot. And after I drop them off, I feel like such an asshole because I've been screaming for half an hour, and the kids feel bad about themselves because they hear their Ima yelling at them that they're late. So then I thought, okay.
How can I flip that around?
Okay, so I'm going to scream a positive message instead. So I tried that. So for the next week or two, I'm screaming, "We're going to be on time! We're going to be on time! Okay, everybody, put your shoes on. We're going to be on time! Yay! We're going to be on time!" And I'm still screaming. Yeah, I swear. So then I still feel like an idiot because I'm in the car after I drop them off, and I'm like, holy cow.
We're not going to be on time.
I've just been yelling for half an hour. A positive message, but I've been yelling. It's exhausting. So I'm thinking to myself, there's got to be a better way. So then this is new. This is the last month because I can't scream anymore.
It's exhausting.
I go against the kitchen wall and I do this after they're done eating, and when I want them to move, I'm like, guys, it's the drumming. This is where we got to get to school. So I go like this.
And do they join you in?
So what they started doing is they all started going to the wall and drumming too, and then it's like the Pavlov's dog experiment.
Yeah.
When they hear the drumming, they know it's time to go. So they start kind of like walking to the door like this.
That's awesome. I'm going to tell my sister.
So here's the situation where I'm literally screaming, I'm stressed, I'm so upset, I'm like, oh my God. And then next thing you know, they're dancing to the door. And then that's what I do. And still I have to call out their names sometimes while I'm drumming, like Gabriella, you know, and I'm drumming, but she knows already that it's time to go. And then we get in the car and it's a much more calm situation.
And you don't feel terrible about yourself.
I don't feel terrible. Or even,
that's
you know,
good. I like that.
They're dressing them, undressing them. I stopped looking at it as, okay, I'm undressing my child and I'm playing a game with my kid.
Yeah.
So then I start whipping off their pants in a funny way, and I whip it off, and then when I take off their shirts, I make a song out of it. And so if you can find a way to make a song out of life, if you can find the rhythm in your daily life and make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it something that is positive, that then you've really kind of figured out what life is about, in a sense. If you can flip those little moments.
That's profound, I'm going to say.
It's
figuring out what life is about is a pretty big deal. And if you're able to do that
in the littlest moments, and it's everything.
Joy in the little moment, then it is life in its whole.
Yeah, I mean, like here it is. I mean, it's kind of, sometimes I wake up and I have this feeling in my heart like, oh, there's so much to do. We have to do this, we have to do that. And then if you can,
I can relate.
and not every day is going to be that dance. Not every day. And some days it will be stormy. And
on those days you remember that tomorrow is a new day, and tomorrow you can do the dance.
And you know, isn't it wonderful that God created a world where the sun sets? The sun sets and rises again, and every time it does that, and I'm sure we all feel it, the energy of the day changes. The energy of every day changes, and not one day is the same as the next. And even if you had the shittiest morning this morning, I guarantee you tomorrow morning will be different. It will be different, whether you like it or not.
I think it's learning to dance in the rain. I think it's it's.
That's exactly it.
I danced last week.
And
because not all of us can actually deal with those bad days.
No,
that's the reality. It's like
it's true.
You know, when I wake up, like I know that tomorrow is going to be a better day, and I keep saying that to myself. But it's having the willpower, the right energy to be able to overcome on that specific moment. Because, and again, that's the thing I say about myself that. It's really bad. I'm aware. I'm totally aware of everything, and yet I still have trouble having that control, quote unquote, not control, but like meaning being able to change my mindset.
We saw it right here, and there is something within you that that is your mountain to climb. We all have mountains. Yeah. And you're very aware of your mountain, and as long as you climb up a few feet every day, if you look back in a month from now versus where you are now, we have to always look at how high we've come and how much, and there's always somewhere to go.
For sure.
It doesn't end.
And when you fall, you do fall sometimes.
Yeah, and
but
you fall.
It's about getting up again and then reaching new heights, because life is never a straight line, like you said. It's not always going to be a climb up.
With regards to the aggressive positivity, what are you doing with it right now? So how does one like get
right
to learn
now,
a little bit about what you're doing?
So, you know what, a lot of people have been messaging me. I've become the, cancer girl or challenge girl. Anyone that's being hit with something really major,
Right.
I end up getting a message. And I want to help everyone.
Of course.
And I thought that the best way to do that is to write a book.
I was about to say, you really should.
So I'm almost finished. I'm in the editing phases, and of course there's so much self-doubt as I'm doing that. I don't know if it's... I wrote it more almost like a manual, but I'm realizing that what people like to hear is my personal anecdotes
Right.
and stories, so I'm putting
Always
them
make
back
it
in.
personal, of course.
And so I'm working on it, and
Very cool.
what
I'm
I
looking forward to
yeah,
this.
hopefully it'll be done in the next few months or by the summer. And what I would like,
Publisher?
I'm gonna self-publish.
Amazing.
Yeah, because publishers take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sit on it. And really, I'm doing it more for my friends and family and the people that have been contacting me. Because what I'd like to do is anyone that is having a hard time, I want to give them a book and say, read it, because this is what I would tell you in person
The Cole's
anyway.
notes of everything I've
Yeah.
gone through.
Read it, and then ask me whatever you want. But at least you have the foundation of my way of thinking. So what I've
Right.
tried to do is kind of distill down how I think, how I compartmentalize things, how I flip things. Here's common mind flips. I've started a chart of common everyday situations
Yeah.
and how to flip them, and just a few key stories. And really, I want you to be able to read it in an hour or two and take one thing away from it, something that will help you in your life. And I really feel that maybe I can, if I can help just one person a little bit, that's
totally worth
that
it.
would be worth
How
it.
do you feel being that guru now? Like that's that go-to person? Because I'm sure you have your ups and downs. You have the days where you probably don't want to talk to somebody. You want to worry about your own issues.
I had a professor, Walter Purcell, in Schulich School of Business when I was 19. He said to me that the more blessings you have in your life, the greater your responsibility to give back.
I love that.
And I feel that I've been blessed beyond anything imaginable, and that it's my duty to give back within my own means. So right now, I'm writing this book because I don't have the energy right now to fully take on other people right now, because I'm still actually psychologically getting over it myself. Yeah, it's a bit too close to what I've been through in order to, because I can't head up any organization right now and start helping or being a volunteer. I'm not there yet. I will get there eventually.
But in the meantime, look how many lives you're impacting. A
Right.
book can reach so many lives, more than you can probably reach in an audience of live talks.
And I don't think it's just cancer. I think it's like
it's
just
anything.
Anybody that's
adversity
battling
that
with
hits
anything.
you.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so the Schulich School of Business Executive Education Center is going to launch it.
All
So
right.
once
Beautiful.
I've self-published it, they're going to do the launch, and they're thinking of ways that they can incorporate the aggressive positivity mind frame into the way doctors speak to patients.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you, if I may, one last question on that subject.
Yeah.
You talked about, and we have a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah.
You talked about choosing to be aggressively positive
Mm-hmm.
and saying to yourself, I'm healing,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is going to be okay, I'm going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
I've encountered a situation where the doctor, because you brought up conversations with doctors, where the doctors have definitely lost their sense of
sensitivity,
Compassion.
positivity.
compassion, sensitivity, their bedside manners, if I can say that, are so far gone out the window. Maybe they're close to retirement. Maybe they couldn't be bothered. Maybe they've said it so many times.
Whatever their reason.
But saying it yet another time, it no different to them, because they're looking at you as a case file, and they're telling you, get your papers in order. You have 12 months to live.
I preempted my doctors.
How do you? Well, so preempting your doctors is great, but how do you deal when a doctor tells you, oh no, this is terminal, and so get your papers in order? What do you say then? How do you?
This is what I did. This is what I did with my doctors. Before they even spoke, I said to them, I only want to hear the good. Do not tell me the bad. I don't want to know recurrence rates. I don't want to know survival rates, because that's what's going to dance in my head. So
it did. Not in your head, but in many people's heads. Those are the
I don't need to know that I have an 80% chance to live, because what my mind will focus on is, oh my God, there's 20% I'm going to die.
What if somebody tells you your chemo has a 20% chance to work?
So
what do you think then, right?
Well, I don't know.
Well,
in my situation, I didn't want to know.
Lucky.
Because I decided, I decided not to know. So even before my surgery, my doctor gives me, I had a surgery in November to remove my ovaries, and my doctor gave me these forms to sign, and it had literally 4 pages of side effects of what could happen, what the after effects are going to be, blah, blah, blah. And this is what I did. I didn't even look at it, and I just signed. And he looked at me, and he said to me, you are a non-compliant patient. He said, I need you to read these side effects legally. And I said, why? So that I can sit here and stress for 2 months before I actually have the procedure?
You're right. And so this is the lesson that I've learned, and listening to you now, it confirms my conclusion. It doesn't do any good asking the doctor, how much do I have left?
But some people are control freaks, or on a lesser degree, just people that need information and in order to feel they're in control.
Especially if you have an MD background, or if you're a former MD, like you're
going
to sit there and have a normal.
Some people, it makes them more calm.
Yeah.
Some people want to know that it's terminal.
Hard. It's hard when those news hit you to go home and say, no, I'm going to fight this anyways, or no, I don't believe.
But what if they just enjoy the next 2 months?
Yeah.
Rather than like, what if he goes, you know what? I have 2 months, and I'm going to make this the best 2 months ever, and then by chance,
I'll tell you
moves forward.
What is the irony there, or kind of like the dichotomy. On the one hand, to enjoy your 2 months, you have to then accept your fate, and so you have accepted your oncoming death. On the other hand, if you haven't accepted, then you continue to fight, and as you fight, if you're not accepting the sentence, you're resisting it. Where do you find the happy medium between not resisting, accepting, and still fighting? Because if you've accepted, have you then, bring it on, cancer, I'm just going to live. It's hard.
You know what? I don't think there's a right answer for that.
No,
Can I tell you? There's some questions. There are some questions in life that don't have answers, and they shouldn't have answers. I really believe that some things are almost sacred. And how
do you see how this is such a controversial topic?
100%, and how someone handles it cannot be predicted or dictated.
Nor is one right versus the other. It's what works for you.
I don't think that there's an actual answer for that.
Because I've seen people say accept it from the beginning and enjoy their life.
How can you tell someone?
And I've seen people not accept it and then still enjoy their fight.
I couldn't even tell someone who's going through what I'm going through, be aggressively positive, and be disappointed if they can't. I could never judge someone's reaction to anything.
And you're right not to judge that, because it's very individual. It's very individual.
You know, we bring something up like this, it's a little bit different. I have a dog that I love very much, and for the past 4 years.
People are asking, what is the subject?
Yeah, because he walked in right now. The subject is aggressive positivity, right? You know, like for the last 3 or 4 years, before I go to bed or something like that, or before I leave, I kiss my dog and I almost say goodbye, which is really psychological, weird. But I'm like, my dog's getting old. He's 11 years old. So I'm always thinking, I'm waiting for the end, but I'm appreciating every day that I have with this dog. But literally every day, I hug the dog, and almost like as if it's the last time, and I try to remember these moments. So he doesn't have a date, you know. It's not like we know that he's got the 2 months, but I appreciate him so much, and I give him that extra love. So I'm turning this horrible situation into something positive, where I'm just being appreciative of the time that we have together, as opposed to thinking about really that day. I just know that, you know what, I gave him as much love as I could during that time period. So when you're the situation with your father, it's kind of like, just if he'll overcome, and if not, at least appreciate those last 2 months of being with him. And
Yeah, it's very complex. The feelings
Oh,
involved in this
for
are
sure.
so
Of course.
multifaceted. But yes, absolutely appreciating the now
Again,
applies to everything.
You know, it's like when somebody gives you, like they say, oh, just take these two and everything's going to go away. It's like, well, no.
I wish there was a pill you could swallow.
Right, right.
Everything is now.
The film Living in Darkness was really about, you know, that magic pill. Like, can I get a magic pill where I feel balanced, because I feel like my chemical, and I have a chemical imbalance. Or like my day, I could go in 1 hour from the highest high to the lowest low.
Well, we just saw it now.
Right, it happens. It happens, and it's like, what do I do? Like, how do I overcome it?
It's really hard.
You know,
that's really
and when
hard.
especially when something is very personal, like, and why this, you know, high that I got to that situation where I got so upset, because it's not just what I preach. It's not like just what I say.
No, it's what you live.
It's what I'm living. And you know, like every day I'm looking at that footage. Every day I'm like, you know, coming up with ideas. Every day I'm speaking to an editor. Every day I'm listening to music to try and, so I'm already there. Like I'm living it. And you know, I feel like if, you know, somebody comes from the outside.
Yeah.
It's
but
like,
we're going back to the same thing.
No. What I meant by that is like, and talking about your aggressive positivity is trying to change that mindset, not to try to take everything, you know, the way it is or the way others see it. It's like sometimes you just have to.
And don't take it personal.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
It's weird because we think that everything, it's not about you all the time. It's a weird thing. It's like even I went through what I went through.
It's a good reminder. It's not always about you.
Yeah, you know what? My sister, when I was going through everything, she said to me, you know, it's not just you that's going through the cancer. She's like, I haven't stopped crying for 3 weeks. Everything affects people around us, and the only thing we have in this world is the decision and the choice of how we are going to handle the everyday situations. That's the only thing we can affect. The fact that people have actions and they do something against you, that's part of your faith. That's something that, that was going to happen. He was going to steal that footage. The question is, how do you run Furman? How are you going to rise above that situation?
Right. And
everybody has those kind of situations on a larger and smaller scale happen to them in their everyday life. And what makes heroes is people that are able to rise above despite everything, fearlessly saying, I'm despite what is imaginable, I'm going to move forward. And that's what, for example, people say about the state of Israel, that it's a miracle. How is it that in 70 years they've become such an incredible force of intellectual discoveries and science and
logical advancement,
and you know what, it's like beyond what you can imagine. It's because the people within the country, despite all the odds, despite all the enemies, despite all the internal politics and problems, say, we believe that we are going to create an incredible country. And we are within ourselves like a country. We have different, my liver works with my stomach and my brain, and we all have to get along. And if something is not communicating with each other properly, then guess what? We have a war in our body, and we have disease, and oh my God, we had to cut out a disease out of my body. But like within our own bodies, we have worlds, entire worlds, and you need to be a master of your own world. And then
for sure.
And then we can. Now I'm getting really philosophical.
If I can add to your analogy of the body and the worlds, if there's one continent, if I can equate one part of our body to a continent that we really need to master, or get to know rather, not to master.
Yes.
Because I don't like the word master or control.
Yeah.
But just get to know would be the master of them all, the brain. Yeah. Because that's where thoughts are generated. That is where we are able to take action, to decide to take action. Our liver responds to everything else. Our muscles respond to our command. There's of course the twitching and the breathing, which happens automatically. But the organs that live there, they're living within their own little symbiotic communities. But the brain, if we get to access it and say, guys, we just want to be friends. We don't want to invade. We don't want to control you. We just want to be friends. I think mastering the brain, the mind, the thoughts is going to allow us to then be aggressively positive and make decisions on a daily basis. And those little things in life that you're able to conquer or to overcome is what makes life. Is what makes life worthy, exciting, despite of everything that happens, because you cannot control anything else other than that particular mind of yours.
I agree with you that the brain is a very, very critical part of our life, and having good judgment and being able to flip our minds and make decisions. I feel like the outcome or the goal is to uplift our soul beyond. It's even, I feel like it's even bigger than our minds. It's our soul is learning something.
Oh my goodness, yes. And so when we're able to quiet the mind is when the soul is able to be heard, to be felt, to be expressed.
Yeah.
Oftentimes our minds are so busy and so loud because we constantly live here as opposed to in the present, that we don't know how to switch that volume down so that we can be aware of what our soul wants, of how it wants to express itself, live its truth. I'm getting very philosophical now.
And I'm just curious, when you're going through one of your moments where you get heated, do you ever have a moment where you look back and you get perspective? Or that moment, like, that there's a purpose in that, or that do you ever feel like you got something out of it that?
Always, and the thing is, like, I keep a lot of things inside. Yeah. Like, I don't express myself the way I want to express myself. I mostly live in my own head, and I'm my worst enemy because I judge myself on everything. Like even the scenarios. If you guys think I didn't think about thousands of scenarios during that week where I was like down completely. I have. It's just at times you don't have that control because even I felt weird about being defensive about it, but it's kind of like I know my story and I know everything that's going on, and like I feel like it's almost not fair to me. You know, it's like I made it personal. I made it personal.
It's not about fairness.
Right. You know,
you think what happened to me is fair?
No, of course not. Of course not.
You know, and what happens to everybody, is it fair?
Right.
It is what it is.
You know what? Sometimes I look at life like God is the parent and we are the child in the crib. And when you're trying to sleep train your kid or you're trying to teach them a lesson, you put them in a corner or you put them in the crib to cry. And it's for the well-being of the family so that everybody can sleep and grow while they're sleeping. But the kid still has to go through that torturous process of crying and you as the parent have to have your heart turn watching your kid. And that's kind of like what we go through in life. Is we go through these terrible, disgusting, gut-wrenching, soul-wrenching experiences, and we hope and pray that we learn our lesson and go that just one notch higher than we were before.
Yeah.
So just to finish it off, and I'm gonna go into something else. When I was making the film, you know, again, everything was very difficult, and even when it wasn't working. But I kept getting those calls from people who needed help, who were struggling, who, you know, and like I would have these conversations teaching people how to breathe, you know, the 4-4-4, you know, like taking it in. I was still like, if they needed medication, or like I helped a guy who said, hey, do you know anybody, a therapist, like I don't have any money. I already did the research. So I felt like in some ways, if I wouldn't have gone through this process, I wouldn't have been able to help these people. And that was the ultimate purpose. The ultimate purpose was kind of achieved even without the film. The film is something that is very somewhat personal to me because it was my journey, and I felt that, you know, somebody was trying to take away my journey and like dictating how my journey is going to be, and I almost feel insulted because it's you know, and again playing off of this.
But who are you to say what your journey should or shouldn't have been? Because what's interesting about this situation is you had in your mind that everything will go perfect and that's how your journey should go.
Right.
But maybe a part of this exercise is overcoming the adversity of a situation like yours and learning from it and growing beyond
100%.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
No.
I think it comes down to attachment. I think oftentimes we as people, it's natural for us to be attached to a certain outcome, to be attached to a belief or an expectation. And so
when it's not the way that you thought it should come out,
then all hell breaks loose. Because when we're very attached to those outcomes, we don't know, we're not prepared to deal with alternative scenarios.
You know that more than anyone. I'm sure that there was a lot of anger and a lot of prayer and a lot of denial in what happened with your dad.
Everything.
I mean,
for a long time. But also, again, going
Can't
back
imagine.
to dealing with this, meditating really does help, because you really learn not to be attached to an outcome, but rather to accept the down and up, like basically the curve of life, which is constantly changing. And then everything changes in life. And if we become too attached to a certain way of being, or to a certain way of being perceived, it really limits us, not anybody else. It limits our potential. You talked about the potential of our soul, and why we are here on earth is to elevate others and to learn certain lessons from our physical lives here, so that our soul can become a little bit wiser for the next round, if that's what you believe in. This is a big part of it, is learning to be flexible in life. I think it's a huge, it's mastering that flexibility, of mental flexibility.
How does one get in touch with you? So if there are people out there right now who are struggling, do you have a website? Do you have something that you're offering people? Or
So I do have my Facebook page, Aggressive Positivity, and they can contact me there.
Spell the same, Aggressive Positivity together?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And for now, I do own aggressivepositivity.com. I haven't put anything up there yet, but eventually that will be where you can go to get a link for the book that you can, and it'll direct you, but I will be selling it on Amazon and all the normal retailers.
I'm excited for that.
Do you? I know when we spoke before, you told me that you wanted to be like on the Ellen show, like you'd be somebody perfect like that.
That's amazing.
Do you do like any types of speeches outside of like these types of shows?
So my initial goal was to do a TED Talk.
Okay.
But at first I need to have a book. The minute the book is out there, a speech or a talk or a motivational speaking engagement would come out of it just easily. I literally just take the table of contents, and then I have my talking points, and boom, I have a speech very quickly. And so a lot of my spare thinking moments go towards just finishing the book. And I'm working on a new album as well.
Amazing.
I'm doing...
we never talked about your other passion.
It's okay.
Singing. You gave us a little preview with your beautiful voice.
Yeah, so my new album is taking the most powerful prayers, Jewish prayers, and putting them to EDM music,
to what music?
EDM.
EDM.
Electronic dance music.
Okay.
To uplift.
For those of us who are not.
May I ask
cool.
something, maybe to just finish it off, since you are a singer and I hear your voice. Do you want to maybe give us like a little conclusion song for today? Yeah, if it's a prayer, if it's whatever, but just something positive maybe that people can leave off, so they can say, wow, there's still hope, there's still light at the end of the tunnel.
Here.
Okay. One of the songs that it's the recording is finished is Shir Lamalot.
Shir Lamalot, okay.
So I'll sing a line or two.
Please, by all means.
Shir Lamalot, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי.
Do you want to tell people what the song is? What the song is about?
It means a song to the heavens, and it's asking, where am I going to find my help or my aid or my guide? And another one that I'm recording is Oseh Shalom B'momav V'yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. It's a very Oseh Shalom B'momav. We all know this song. It's a very
V'yaseh
Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
Very fitting for Friday.
Ve'imru Amen. And so that song, it's a song for peace.
Yes.
Love it.
And he's going to make peace for us and for all of Israel. And,
the whole world.
we all struggle. We all have battles, and we all struggle for peace within ourselves, peace within our families, within our relationships, friends, partners, countries. And, what is heaven is achieving that peace. If you're at peace with your body, you're walking on a cloud. If you're at peace in your home, you have shalom bayit, you have a peaceful home. You're in heaven on earth. I don't know if I ascribe to the idea of heaven in the sky. I actually feel like you can create heaven within
here on earth.
Exactly.
And that is one thing that is common amongst all the major religions, is that they do preach having peace at heart and peace within the family, and that really does start with us.
Yeah, and within your own self and within your own conflicts. And that's the greatest battle is within yourself. I mean, we all battle.
They're the hardest battles, definitely.
That's the hardest battle.
The hardest battles.
And the path of least resistance is being negative and being angry and being jealous, resentful. Although that avenue is where our natural inclination, even energy, naturally wants to be in chaos.
We're vibrating on that lower frequency and when we are feeling these emotions.
And your eyes are down and you're sad and you cannot literally you cannot see the opportunities in front of you because your eyes are on the floor. You have to pick up your head, talk to your fellow people, and life will bring the opportunities. So there's always someone. There's always something. You just have to look at it.
Thank you very much for coming out today.
You're welcome.
That was beautiful.
I apologize that you kind of came into a conflict, but again, this is what the show is about. It's about really with live, just talking about things, and we're gonna bring tough subjects. We're gonna have to deal with them. I mean, that's just the reality. I hate the idea of like ignoring things and just kind of like you know, giving people food. There has to be
there's got to be the meat, and we saw it today. And thank you everybody who joined and came in and out.
Thank you very much. So on behalf of Mira and myself, our wonderful guest,
Limor
Twena,
Thank you.
again, Aggressive Positivity. Check her out on Facebook. Soon it's going to be aggressivepositivity.com.
Yeah. I'm going to be on TV in Israel when I go in 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What show are you going to be on?
On I-24 News. My first cousin Maya Kramer is a newscaster there.
Oh, beautiful.
She brought me on, and we're going to talk about
amazing. So great. Now I'll take that number from you too when I'm ever in Israel.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. And till next time, have a great week.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.